Actually, we have expanded the area for parking for the bikes, and we would be very glad to show you how it is in the basement parking that we have. More and more are parking their bikes there. So that is one way of encouraging it. The other thing there, of course, is collaborating with the Pasig LGU to make sure that the lanes are available and safety of the bikers are ensured. So that is one thing that we can do. Plus the fact that I think the more that we talk about this, the more that we involve more and more young people, we probably can really move on with the movement. It's going to be a movement. No? It's not going to, it should not stop once the pandemic is over. It should actually continue. And in terms of urban planning, there should be spaces for bikes. And there should be more encouragement from our government to ensure that those that are into this really power in terms of energy, very in conservation. But what we need to do now is to provide the environment and provide the safety nets for those who would like to pick up the biking movement.
Mobility is really very important kasi nakaupo lang ang empleyado maghapon. So biking, we feel, is one of the most affordable na activity. As of course, sa walking, sa mga initiatives na ginagawa ng management, encouraging our people to do some activities like biking and walking every day sa ating premises dito. Even in the daily commutes na kanila, marami tayong empleyado who are biking from home within Metro Manila and even in the provinces.
Very happy with how the GSIS, this institution, has responded for the need for biking to work for people, for its employees to be able to do their jobs well.
Tayo nagdaglaan ng isang malaking space dito sa ating parking area. We installed bike racks for our bikers. We also have shower rooms. We were able to encourage more go into biking, you know. I'm sure that the membership ng ating cycling club has been growing not only in Metro Manila, not only in GSI's home office. I heard news na bawat branch na ngayon ay nagkakaroon kanya-kanyang cycling club. So we will be installing or coming up with a bike station. Lahat ng gusto mag-iwan, not only for employees, even outsiders can avail of the bike station. It will support not only the employees here, but also all the workers within the vicinity or within Pasay City who would like to avail that bike station.
Well, in Pasig Transport, one of our main programs has been to facilitate the distribution of bicycles for commuting use to employees all over the Pasig City organization and family. But our other main program to make Pasig Transport and Pasig City Hall a more bicycle-friendly workplace is really to increase the amount of available bicycle parking and locate it in places where you can park your bicycle with safety, peace of mind, and dignity. One of the main programs that Pasig City is implementing is a bike loan program that allows interested employees to avail of interest-free loans from the city in case they want to begin bike commuting. So often it's difficult to get financing from banks or other traditional sources if all you want to buy is a bike. But what we found in Pasig City is that by extending loans, let's say like even 10 or 15,000 pesos to employees, people can actually access a lot of financing to buy the bike of their choice that will make commuting a lot easier for them. And this is a program which we've had some success with, which we want to develop and continue in the future. What every workplace has to realize and what every organization has to realize is that within your organization, there are many people, could be even hundreds of people, that want to bike to work today, but cannot for many reasons. And one of the main reasons people do not bike to work is the lack of bicycle parking facilities, among other things. So if you really care about your employees, and I think many workplaces do care about their employees, I think it's it can really help them and it can really help your organization to become as bicycle friendly as possible.
Hello. Ayan po, magandang tanghali po sa lahat. Magandang hapon po, naimbag nga malim. Maayong hapon sa tanan. Welcome po sa huling episode ng Moving Towards Mobility, a webinar series organized by the Mobility Awards. Ako po si Jerry Amarnani ng Pinay by Commuter Community. Isa po ako sa mga co-conveners ng 2021 Mobility Awards. Kasama ko po ang Insitute for Climate Sustainable Cities, MNL Moves, the Climate Reality Project, and 350.org Pilipinas. And today po, I'm very honored to be co-hosting this episode with a very special guest and fellow advocate for safe streets. It was motherhood that really opened her eyes to the inequality of transport and mobility in our cities. She is a teacher by profession, and she now chronicles her bike adventures with her children in her blog sa Facebook and Instagram. Ang tawag po ng kanyang page ay Two Wheels, Three Hearts. So, samahan niyo po akong i-welcome si Corina Petijan. Hi, Corina! Maraming salamat for agreeing to co-host with me today.
Thank you, Jerry. Mabuhay! Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat na nanonood sa atin ngayon sa Facebook. And hello, thank you for inviting me to join today. I'm very excited to moderate today's discussion with you. Our discussion today is part of the Moving Towards Mobility webinar series organized by the conveners of the Mobility Awards. This series tackles issues linked with the mobility of Filipinos, from public transportation, livelihoods, and even safety and inclusivity. In today's episode, we will talk about the need for a more inclusive mobility system in cities across the Philippines, one that caters and responds to the needs of commuters, cyclists, persons with disabilities, the elderly, and even our children.
Yes, tama ka dyan, Corina. Panahon na para pag-usapan natin tong mga bagay na to kasi kailangan natin talaga maging inclusive. So, and the title today is Pedaling Towards Change, Why We Need to Champion Diversity in Cycling. Ang episode po na ito ay tatalakay kung bakit at paano natin gagawing mas inclusive ang ating mga kalsada. Lagi nating sinasabi na itong mga kalsada at ang ating transport system natin in general ay dapat maging mas demokratiko. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, hindi lang dapat nakadisenyo ang mga daan para sa mga kotse. Dapat nakasentro sila sa tao, katulad natin. Ang mga taong ang karamihan ay namamasahe, nagbibisikleta, at naglalakad. Mukha man madami ang mga sasakyan sa daan kasi nagkumpulan sila lahat sa traffic. Pero sa ating mga viewers na nakikinig ngayon, mas marami pa po ang mga namamasahe, nagbibisikleta at naglalakad. So siguro po ang added value ng ating episode today ay bukod sa democratic, we are also calling for a more inclusive and a more equitable transport system. And that is because the vulnerable groups of our society, ito po ang mga senior citizens, pregnant women, children, and differently abled, we are all still facing significant barriers to safe and affordable transport. Okay, ang keyword po ay safe and affordable transport. Kaya talaga po napaka-exciting ng hapon na ito kasi kailangan natin pag-usapan ang topic na ito. And bago po ang lahat, Corina, will you please do the honors of updating our viewers on the Mobility Awards nominations?
Yes, Jerry, of course. So for the nationwide round of the Mobility Awards, so far we have received the following nominations as of November 3rd for the friendly cities. Over here, cities have been nominated, including Baguio City, Tagaytay, Naga, and many other cities in the Philippines. And for our establishments, the most bicycle-friendly establishments, we have 55 commercial establishments already nominated all over the country. And there are entries from malls such as SM, Ayala, Robinsons, restaurants like McDonald's, Pizza Volante, Upland Cafe, and of course, bike shops too. Then we have a category for most bicycle-friendly workplaces. And there are 18 workplaces nominated so far. Businesses, IT parks, colleges, and universities like the University of Cordilleras and Father Saturnino's Urios University, and even government offices like GSIS Tarlac and Baguio City Hall. So tuloy-tuloy pa din ang nomination. You still have until tomorrow, November 5, to nominate your bike-friendly cities, workplaces, and commercial establishments. So please visit mobilityawards.ph or here, this link, right, bit.ly/MA nominations to nominate more bicycle-friendly workplaces, cities, and establishments. Thank you.
Yes, nako. Kailangan, alam ko first year natin na mag-nationwide. For sure, for next year, mas madami pa tayong manonominate. Pero guys, hindi pa sarado ang nomination. Please, 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 please nominate. Nominate your bicycle-friendly cities, establishments, and workplaces. Bago ko tumuloy, I would like to give a shout out to Angeli Eluna. Hello, Angeli, Lyndon Honson, and Ate Tet Supleo. Siyempre, Pinay by Commuter Community Sisters. Hello. Salamat. Thank you for that update, Corina. Ipapaalala ko lang po sa ating mga viewers, ang nomination po, open pa po rin ang nomination ng Siklista ng Bayan Special Award, which aims to recognize awe-inspiring entrepreneurs in local neighborhoods who are using their bicycles in their livelihoods. For sure, napapansin nyo yan sila araw-araw sa community nyo. So each of them has a story to tell, and you can help amplify their stories by sending your nominations. Yung sinabi ni Corina kanina na bit.ly/MA Cyclista. The nomination for this category is also until tomorrow na lang, November 5. Ayan, flinash uli yung link. And then all winners for all categories will be announced on November 25. Kaya abangan po natin lahat yan. Over to you, Corina.
Okay, so for our webcast today, thank you so much everyone for joining and listening. But I would like to share a few reminders for everyone joining us on our live webcast today. So first, we are giving away certificates of participation to those who are interested. So to avail of this certificate, una, kailangan nyo lang mag-comment ng inyong pangalan sa Facebook post nitong live stream. Pwede nyo ring dagdagan ng greeting o mensahe kung saan kayo nanonood ngayon. Tapos pangalawa, sagutan lamang po ninyo ang feedback form na ipopost namin mamaya sa Facebook comment section pagkatapos ng ating episode. Second, please feel free to type in the comment section any questions for Jerry or I or any of our speakers, and we will be answering them later in our open forum. Please also comment any insights, stories, ideas on the discussions because we love to hear your thoughts and engage with all of you. So those are all our reminders. Jerry, over to you. Let's not keep our audience waiting.
Yes. Eto na. Gaya ng sinabi namin kanina in today's episode, we will delve into the intersections of cycling, gender, democracy, and inclusivity. Kaya sana po talaga samahan nyo kami hanggang sa matapos para maintindihan talaga natin kung ano yung mga terminologies na ito and how it relates to cycling. Our goal is to highlight the need to develop and implement inclusive, safe, resilient, sustainable urban mobility solutions that are attuned to the needs of the commuters, cyclists, persons with disabilities, the elderly, and of course, our children. So we will also break down the myths and misconceptions on cycling related to women and health. Siyempre, napakaraming myths and misconceptions talaga na nakakapaghinder para sa isang babae na magbisikleta. Pag-uusapan din po natin ang mga usapin tungkol sa mga unique role ng mga kabataang Pinoy sa pagsulong ng sustainable urban mobility sa ating bansa. Napakalawak po ng ating usapin. Honestly, kulang po ang 1.5 oras. But we are privileged and honored to have an esteemed roster of speakers who can really frame these discussions very well. And I'm happy that majority of them are my sisters from the Pinay by Commuter community. So, umpisahan na po natin. Kilalalin na po natin silang lahat. Our first resource person is si Cresta Nina Baraan Anore. She is a deaf cycling advocate working at the Commission on Human Rights. She advocates for the inclusion of the PWDs in the cycling community in the Philippines. To help us communicate with Cresta during this episode, kasama po natin si Jemwell Japson and si Miss Catherine Joy Villarreal. They will be interpreting our questions as well as Cresta's answers for our viewers. So magandang hapon, Cresta. Please say hi to our viewers, and just to open the show, we want to ask you and also our guest today to briefly answer this question. Para kanino ka pumapadyak? So Cresta, over to you.
Hello. Hello po. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Ako po si Cresta. Ito po ang aking name sign. Ako po ay deaf at isang babae. Isang babaeng may kapansanan. Or woman with disability. Ngayon ako po ay nagtatrabaho sa Commission on Human Rights, Gender and Women's, sorry. Sa GWHRC, and I bike because the deaf can bike. Kami pong mga deaf, gusto rin namin mag-enjoy, mag-exercise, mag-commute ng ibang paraan, umuwi, magtrabaho, at ngayong panahon ng COVID, isang magandang paraan ito na makaalis ng stress. Apologies, hindi ako makita ng aking interpreter. So again, like I said, meron mga deaf bikers, sumasali din sila sa marathon, or can you see me? Yes, I hope. And then we find biking interesting po. Kahit na hindi nakakarinig, we use our eyes. Very visual po ang deaf, so it's not a hindrance. So masaya nga po na nakaka-interact kami with the hearing community when we bike. To share, is it okay to share my personal experience already, Miss Jerry? Or do we continue with another question?
Siguro, Cresta, hold on muna, pero exciting na malaman ng iyong experience. Siguro for the meantime, yung tanong po namin is, para kanino ka pumapadyak, Cresta?
Alright. Para sa sarili din, at to make sure na I can exercise, be a role model, make sure na I take care of my health, and advocate na deaf people can do it also, not just hearing people.
Maraming salamat. Corina, over to you.
Okay, so for our next, thank you so much, Cresta. It was nice to meet you. For our next guest is, our next speaker is Miss Bea Dolores. Oh, yeah, Miss Bea Dolores, who is one of the founders of Renacimiento Manila, an artist heritage advocacy group working towards the cultural rebirth of the Pearl of the Orient, Manila. She is one of the ambassadors of Bambike, a socio-ecological enterprise based in the Philippines that hand makes bamboo bikes. And she is also one of the youth cluster coordinators of the Climate Reality Project Philippines. Being trained in architecture and the urban design field, she advocates for planning with diversity and cultural identity at its very core and is strongly against destructive infrastructure projects in her country. So I will ask you also, Bea, what about you? Para kanino ka pumapadyak?
Hi everybody! So ako, pumapadyak ako for, of course, planet Earth, and that it's much more healthy as well for my body para pumadyak, or like to go on active transport rather than, drive a car and whatnot.
Thank you so much, Bea. Of course. Thank you, thank you. Tawagin na natin yung susunod nating speaker, si Miss Eloisa Regaliza. She is a travel agent, cyclist, do-what-lit, and a social media content creator passionate about cycling. Passionate about cycling, travel, theater arts, and filmmaking. She uses her social media platform to create positive changes in the cycling community and other relevant social concerns such as the protection of the environment and women's rights and empowerment. Eloisa, tatanungin ka din namin, para kanino ka ba pumapadyak?
Ayan. First of all, hello everyone. So, yun. Buti na lang nasagot ko na to kanina nag-type ako. So, initially, pumapadyak ako para just for my health. And then, it transitioned to achieve personal goals. So, by joining races, mga ganyan, conquering mountains. But now, pumapadyak ako for freedom. Freedom to move. And freedom to express myself and share my passion, which is sharing my story and other people's story para mas ma-inspire sila mag-bike. And ayun, somehow make our worlds a better place to live. So ayun, there are many reasons why we ride, but the common thing I guess is that we want to achieve a goal to make our lives and other people's lives better. Yeah.
Definitely. Cycling will really indeed make our lives better. So maraming salamat, Iloy. Our next guest is si Miss Julieta Ramos. I call her Tita Yet sa Pinay Bike Commuter community. She is our senior citizen. She's a senior citizen and a member of the Pinay Bike Commuter community. She advocates for the inclusion of the elderly in the cycling community sa Pilipinas. Sige po, Tita Yet, gaya ng iba naming guest, para kanino po kayo pumapadyak?
Hello po. Pumapadyak ako para sa before nung nag-pandemic. So, nag-start ako mag-bike kasi mas mabilis siya, mas mabilis siya na makapunta ako sa palengke. Ginagamit ko siya na mamalengke, tapos bumili ng mga medicine for my mother, at saka sa akin din po. So, while doing that, na-realize ko na mas nakakatulong sa aking health as nakaka-exercise, nakakalakas ng katawan. Tapos, ayun, tapos nakakatulong din dahil economical siya, hindi siya magastos, at mabilis ko nagagawa yun.
Thank you, Tita Yet. Karina, over to you.
Okay, before we introduce our next guest, I'd just like to shout out to Maureen from Pinay Bike Community. Hi, Moy. And to Don Vizcaya Garcia from the Daily Cycle Movement, Baguio. Hi, thank you for listening. Okay, our next guest is LGBTQIA+ and urban poor rights activist, Jawo Jaime. Jowa rides a bike to be able to reach urban poor communities within Metro Manila and join the fight against the many social injustices, including demolition, hunger, and poverty. Hi, Jowa. Thank you for joining us today. It is your turn to answer our question. Para kanino ka pumapadyak?
Hello po, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Ako si Jomo. As a queer, out and proud queer person, ako po ay pumapadyak to take up my rightful place in the society, to be visible, and to fight for the rights of my community, the LGBT community, and other marginalized sector like the urban poor.
Maraming salamat, Jowo. And our last guest for today, si Charlene K. Dismas, who currently serves as the coordinator for the Transport Subcluster and youth representative for the Human Security Cluster. She's currently working as a sustainable transportation officer for the Makati Business Club, where she works with a collaborative team to spearhead cycling initiatives such as encouraging the private sector to provide, nako importante to, yung ginagawa mo, Char, provide end-of-trip facilities for cyclists, donating bicycles to nationwide beneficiaries, and supporting other CSOs and government agencies to build protected bicycle infrastructure. So, Char, maraming salamat. It's nice to see you again. Para kanino ka ba pumapadyak, Char?
Pumapadyak ako para sa mga newbies. Yung mga takot mag-bike sa mga kalsada, kasama ng mga kotse. And also, for women like my size. Yun lang.
Maraming salamat, Char. And thank you. So these are all our panelists for today, and to all our guests who are joining us and watching our webcast. Thank you for your responses to our opening question. And we will talk more about this topic today. We will deep dive. But before we proceed, I would like to invite our Facebook viewers first to answer our question for the day. And here is our question. How can we make urban mobility systems more responsive to the needs of women, persons with disabilities, and the elderly? So isend nyo lamang po ang inyong mga sagot sa comment section, and we will pick the top 5 answers before the program ends. Ang mapipili po ay makakatanggap ng Mobility Award shirt and face mask na makikita nyo po sa inyong mga screen. Ipapakita po ba natin? Okay. Anyway, I'm excited to read your answers. So first, let me give a shout out to some of you first today before we start. So for Lyndon Johnson, happy birthday. God bless. And Paula Love Bernasor, magandang hapon din po. Ian Soqueño watching from Las Piñas, Marisol D from Butuan City, Jerry Behar Jr. Watching from Baguio City, and Mary Ann Salido Esho Hervasio watching from Chinese General. Don Vizcaya, yes, we shouted out at Tetsupleo, hello. Angeli Aluna and Karen Silva Crisostomo from Pinay Bike Commuters. Hello, sisters. Okay, and Raydom Leal from Daily Cycle Movement. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. We will greet more of you later. But now it is time to know more about the stories of our speakers and time to pick their brains why we should and how we can make our mobility systems more inclusive. Okay. So, okay, so we'll start in a panel discussion format. Okay,
Yes.
we will ask questions to our speakers. And Jerry, do you have any questions to start?
Yes, bago po ang lahat, si Dr. Marivic po, ang ating ubigayni, magjo-join po siya in a few minutes. So, kung may mga katanungan po kayo about the myths and misconceptions of cycling and your reproductive health, please isave nyo po yan. We will give it to Dr. Marivic pagkasali niya po mamaya. Isa rin po siya sa ating mga speakers. So, Karina, probably over to you for Char.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shar, we have some questions for you. So first of all, how can we encourage young people to use bicycles for social and environmental action?
All right. Perhaps I can answer all of the questions that you have in a quick presentation. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. Of course. Prepared talaga ang ating mga kababaikihan.
All right. Let me just quickly share my screen. Also, to give you a bit of a background of, what I specifically do. So where I work as a sustainable transportation officer at the Makati Business Club. And in Makati Business Club, we have a program called the Business for Biking Program. And this is in partnership with the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And basically what we do is, what we've done in this year is we've had LGU consultations. So we had LGU consultations with Pasig, Manila, and Makati. We also have a bike-friendly business pledge campaign, and this is what I think is where our energy is focused on as of the moment. So basically, this campaign is we invite companies to pledge, and in return, we would help them provide bike initiatives or bike infrastructure. So as of the moment, we have 52 pledges, so 52 companies that pledged, and we help them by having, number one, we have a starter kit. So this is a kit where there are a lot of references from the Dutch Cycling Embassy. We also include references from the government, which includes biking guidelines, and also a list. It's kind of like a menu, which I'll show later on what companies can do for cycling. Number three, we also have a Wheels for Work donation drive. This is in partnership with the Ayala Foundation, and we have donated bicycles to workers who need a mode of transportation that is safe. And this year, we've donated to teachers. We've also, two of our beneficiaries are IP teachers, and they use the bicycles because before, what they do is they would carry the modules on foot and then distribute it to their students. But with the bicycle, they can now go to the houses of the students and put the modules on a basket. So it's easier and it's faster for them. And number four is cycling infrastructure. So as of the moment, we're trying to partner with different LGUs to provide more protected bike lanes and more bike racks and the like. So I'd also want to explain, why is involving the private sector important. And this is because our end of trip or the locations or end of trip destinations, the places that we go to are usually privately owned or are owned by the private sector. So we usually go to malls, diba, for the groceries, banks, food and drink establishments. Syempre, yung mga, pag nagbabike, we always go to a coffee shop or magpapahinga sa isang restaurant or fast food chain. And also offices. I mean, there are government offices, but a lot are also privately owned. Yung mga buildings are privately owned. So they're also part of the private sector. And so, imagine going to the mall, wala kang pag-park ka ng bike. It discourages you from using a bicycle. So, maybe for those who are watching, who want their businesses to become bike-friendly, what can your company do? So, we call them end-of-trip facilities. So, if your company can provide bike parking, if they own the building, if they own the land or they can place bike parking there, then that would be the number one end-of-trip facility that they can put for cycling. So these are several examples we have from Mega World, SM, and McDonald's. Another thing that they can do is if they don't have or they can't put up bike parking, how can they encourage employees to bike? We also have a bicycle loan program. Now this is from Pasig, but maybe we can take inspiration from Pasig and also have a bike loan program for employees, especially for frontliners. They might not have the budget to buy a bicycle in full, in cash. So maybe through the bike loan program, it would divide their payments so that it can be more affordable for them. Another thing that companies can do, which is also an end of trip facility, is if they can provide showers and lockers. So, pagdating mo sa office, syempre nagbabike ka, pawis-pawis ka na. It would be great to have a shower and locker area, or even a changing room where cyclists can change into business casual or business formal clothes. These are several examples from Europe. So as you can see in the photos, there are bike parking sa tabi, and then may mga lockers so that cyclists can store their helmets, yung mga clothes nila, and it's well lit, hindi siya madilim. Another thing that employers can do for their employees is they can also have incentives for employees. So we have 3 types of incentives that companies can give. Number 1 is monetary. I think it's self-explanatory. Basically, when a cyclist who bikes to work, for example, completes 50 kilometers, then the company would then give them money, parang to encourage them to bike more. Or, for example, discount of bike maintenance. So the company can partner with a store that has bike maintenance or yung mga small stores sa tabi-tabi, and then they could provide discounts sa mga nagbabike. If they, for example, accomplish 10 kilometers, they would give a voucher, and then the cyclist can present this voucher to the store or the maintenance. And then lastly, there's a company partner incentives. So the company can partner with a coffee shop, for example. And then if a cyclist accomplishes a certain distance, then the company would give the voucher to the cyclist, and then the cyclist would present the voucher to the coffee shop. So that's how you also incentivize or encourage employees to cycle. But there are also, employees, let's say, gusto ko mag-bike pero hindi ako marunong. Pero ang tanda ko na, parang too late na. So companies can also have bike lessons for employees. You can arrange with a organization and then say, these mga 5 to 10 people want to know how to bike. And so they meet up in a place and then they learn how to bike with the organization. And if they know now how to bike, the next step is learning how to bike on the streets. Other employees aren't comfortable enough to bike to work kasi takot pa sila. The company can also organize bike commute training. And so this is also done by several organizations or groups here in the Philippines. And they teach cyclists the proper hand signals when turning left or right, or what to do in certain situations. And so riding in a group encourages or builds up the confidence of newbie riders when it comes to biking, and eventually they will learn and be comfortable enough to bike beside cars or beside motorists. So that's all that I have for this presentation. Was I able to answer your questions that you have?
Yes, thank you. So so those are some good ways that our businesses can really encourage cycling. So every day I hear stories of somebody who wants to bike to work, but then they ask their office, tapos walang bike parking, so they can't do it. So I think this is really something that all establishments and workplaces need to really take a close look at.
Exactly.
I agree with you, Corina. Isa talaga to sa yung mga binanggit ni Shar, lahat yon mga encouragement ways talaga para yung isang tao magpatuloy talaga sa pagbibisikleta niya. Salamat dun sa mga bikes na binigay nyo for the teachers. For sure, napakalaking tulong nun. May mga teachers tayo sa community. Hello po, Ma'am Annie. Sana po nakikinig po sila. Tapos, alam mo, Shar, yung nabanggit mo na monetization kanina, meron ako nabasa na isang study na isa sa napakalaking encouragement para sa isang tao pag naapektuhan na yung kanyang wallet. So, pag nabigyan mo sila ng mga monetization packages na yan, talagang magpupursige sila na ipagpatuloy ang pagbibisikleta. Tapos, Shar, bago ka umalis, alam ko after nito, kailangan mo nang umalis. Bigyan muna
Yes,
kita ng isang tanong from
sure.
our viewers. Galing kay CJ Dagyo. Sabi
Mhm.
niya, which specific space or spaces would the bicycle community prefer if independent end of trip facilities are to be established around the metro? So yun yung
Mm.
tanong niya, Shar.
Yes. I wouldn't say specific spaces, but an ideal place to place bike parking is near the entrance, or I vision yung entrance. It wouldn't be ideal, for example, if nasa second floor ang bike parking. Kasi aakyat na naman yung cyclist, pagod na
Basement
pagod na
5.
nga. Ayun, no, like, it would be best if it were same level as the entrance. That's a good space that's also recommended by the Dutch Cycling Embassy that is also being taught to the private sector.
Sabi ni Corina, basement 5. Ako naman, level 3. Oh, paakyat ako, pababa si Corina. Siguro, Shar, we can tell siguro the audience that they can email you. Can they
Yeah,
email you kung meron silang mga questions
absolutely.
tungkol sa ganyan? At saka kung siguro may mga kailangan silang tulong kung paano makumbinsi yung kanilang kumpanya, mag-set up nung mga nabanggit mo. So, Shar, maraming salamat sa mga in-impart mo sa amin this afternoon. And see you in the community.
See you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shar. So, sa susunod nating guest, I would like to call on si Bea. Hi, Bea.
Hello.
Alright, Bea, meron kaming tatlong tanong sa'yo. Would you like me to give the 3 questions na? And then you
Alright.
can expound on it. Sige.
Opo.
The 3 questions would be, what is the youth role in promoting sustainable urban mobility? Yun yung una. Yung pangalawa, ano bang mga halimbawa ng mga best practices mula sa mga kabataan sa pag-promote ng sustainable urban mobility? And yung pangatlong tanong ay, how can cycling promote cultural and heritage conservation? So over to you.
Alright. Thank you po, Ms. Jerry. And ayan, what is the youth's role in promoting sustainable urban mobility? First off, mga kabataan po ay mga leaders at driving force of influence to our friends, to our communities. We have all the energy to do a lot of things basically, and as well as the same vigor that is needed in the active transport is of course something that is embedded in us as youth, di ba? Like, kami mas may energy basically. Plus, in terms of income or like financial capacities, karamihan sa amin, mga estudyante and all, karamihan din naman po ay nagko-commute. That is why talaga namang ramdam namin ang bigat at like marami kaming hugot sa pag-commute, like most especially like multimodal transport. Mga ganyang bagay, ay Diyos ko, tapos pupunta ka sa eskwelahan mo, marami kaming hugot dyan. Ayun, and ayun, of course, we have media at our hands. Tayo yung may pinaka gamay na gamay kung paano gumamit ng technology, as well as the social media, of course. We have all that capacities. And then, of course, with our youth, some of us can be leaders as well in our own, either communities, in our companies, and maybe some of them will actually thrive towards becoming an expert in this field, or as well as maybe a future decision makers. So there's like a lot of possibilities bilang mga kabataan, and it's about time that we utilize this and that we give it, kumbaga, in terms of promoting the sustainable urban mobility. And then another one is kung ano ba yung mga halimbawa ng best practices. Well, of course, number one na naman yung social media, like even just sharing your own experiences in a day. Some people nga nag-share nila, they just bike today and then ang ganda Instagrammable yung ano nila, post nila, as well as yung mga pinupuntahan nila, guys. 'Di ba? And it's a good way to promote biking, as well as going to knowing which establishments are bike friendly. And so you're hitting two birds in one stone, di ba? Like, gala talaga. Mahilig din naman tayong gumala eh. And of course, these as tawag dito, yung kay Miss Jerry, of course, the Pinay Bike Commuters community. It's such a huge blessing to all, kumbaga, female na gusto magbike, or like any kind of support systems talaga that fellow bike commuters need. These support groups are such a beautiful blessing. As well as, hindi lang po ang Pinay bikers ang may ganitong support groups, but also other bike generic bike groups, transport groups like How's Your Biyahe Best, and even mga BAM bikers. Meron din sariling group ang mga bamboo bikers rather. And these also give us a sense of community, a sense of support. May mga, dahil sa mga communities na yan, may mga nagsasabay na tuloy magbike to places, either gala or their work. So mas nakaka-encourage to go out there, and basta may kasama ka, ganyan, especially in the kind of situation that we have in our road. Ayan po. And then other things would be just a simple, may mga nagbibigayan ng mga bike equipments, or even just stickers. Those are some things that can, of course, help give confidence then to fellow bikers. Ayan. Yeah. And mainly that's it on that part. And then in terms of how can cycling promote cultural and heritage conservation, it sounds like parang ang layo, di ba? But I guess I should just share Bambike, for example, na because of Bambike Eco Tours as being present in Intramuros, it's really one of the driving forces in the tourism of Intramuros eh. During the time na sarado lahat ng establishments in Intramuros, we're very thankful that Bambike is there, that Bambike was open. And why? Because you can hang out with your friends even in terms of socially distanced, and you can just go around and it's healthy. Ayan. And just by using the heritage area, because of the capacity to bike around it, even in times of a pandemic, is a way to promote it. Yeah. We have this kind of theory or something that as long as you use a space, as long as, for example, it's a heritage site, then you're also kumbaga encouraging and like you're making the place alive. Yeah. So Intramuros is an example thanks to the Bambike Eco Tours, but as well as Escolta now. It's being activated because of bikers just going there. And for example, if there's like a pop-up kapihan, and then bikers would go there in Escolta, somehow the place gets to be alive, and then the place gets to be celebrated. And that's a beautiful way, that's a beautiful blessing brought about by cycling. And another reason why cycling is better is because, kumbaga, it doesn't ruin the view. If you have cars parked rather, if you have cars parked along buildings, edi harang yung view natin. Hindi tayo ganun ka makakonekta sa mga heritage places natin. We don't get to appreciate it as much. And then if ever naman that you're inside the vehicle, you don't get to experience it as much because of course your senses are not, kumbaga, with it. Like for example, even just the sense of smell, the touch, you just feel like you're enclosed in a space rather than being actually out there, being close to the heritage spaces themselves. And then another thing, of course, if you're using a vehicle, or like if we are still stuck in a car-centric society, is that we are ruining these heritage buildings because of the soot brought about the carbon emissions. Di dumihan natin, napadagdag yung additional maintenance, and basta dudumi at papangit ang mga buildings natin because of that. But by promoting cycling, of course, we produce less car on the road, and that we are, kumbaga, making things, or like making an effort to make things a bit cleaner in our spaces. And that's one of the main things. And hopefully through that, by promoting cycling for our heritage and cultural conservation, we are also promoting the non building of destructive infrastructures. Ayan lamang po. And
Thank you,
thank you.
Bea. Alam mo, I super agree with you. Alam nyo ba, Thursday ngayon, 'di ba? Malapit na naman mag-weekend. For sure, the my sisters in the Pinay commuter community, nagpaplano na naman sila kung saan sila pupunta. Antipolo, sa South, sa Intramuros. And kung na-curious kayo sa sinabi ni Bea, at kung gusto nyong maging youthful yung pakiramdam nyo, please try riding a bicycle and discover the places in Metro Manila. Ang dami talagang madidiscover.
Yeah.
Nako, si Corina, yesterday she announced in her page that she will post mga open spaces. Corina, would you like to say more on that?
Well, yeah, I believe that open spaces are really crucial for the health of a city and its people. So, I do like to find places where it's safe to go, to hang out, even with kids sometimes, where you can be away from other people. And I have to say, Intramuros, if you have not experienced Intramuros by bike or by walking, please do, because there is so much that you will not see, that you will not hear or feel when you are in a car. So please try it. This is the way it was meant to be experienced. Diba? Wala naman talagang tayong kotse nung 1580 something. So,
Yes.
so these places, Intramuros, Escolta, were built to be experienced on foot, on bikes, on a horse, not by car.
Yes. I guess
Yes.
I'll add something pala na it's not just Intramuros but also the Pasig River. The
Yeah.
entire stretch of Pasig River is a heritage itself, and it's a great opportunity. For example, in Guadalupe, why not, diba? In the small pockets of places wherein you can just go there and experience the place and be by the river, diba? It's a great way for the cyclists to just hang out. So I'm kind of encouraging people that why not every weekend you just go and bike around the entire stretch of Pasig River, even just by the Guadalupe, and experience the place. Or even in Escolta side, there's a lot of beautiful places along Pasig River that you should bicycle around to. So yun lang po.
Yes, kasi baka yung iba iniisip nila, Bea, mabaho or mainit. Actually, hindi totoo yun. So,
They should try it.
you should try it. Just be there. Ako, I love biking along the side of Pasig River sa may Mandaluyong kasi nga, medyo malamig siya. So, I hope you try it. Maraming salamat, Bea. I know you need to go, pero thank you for sharing your insights today. So, Karina, over to you.
Thank you, Bea. Nice to meet you finally. Okay, so thanks so much. So next, we have some questions for Cresta, our advocate for PWDs. Cresta, are you here? Okay, so I will just I'll give the questions, and then Cresta and interpreters can choose in which questions to answer and in which order. So first, my first question is, ideally, urban mobility systems should ensure a safe and accessible public transport system for people with disabilities. What is your assessment of the state of current urban mobility systems in Metro Manila? That's question one. And then for our second question, this is where we'd like to know your experiences. So where have you yourself experienced difficulties navigating our roads or our transport systems because of the lack of support for PWDs? And finally, what policies and infrastructures are needed to make sure that our transport system is inclusive for PWDs, people with different levels of ability, right, physical ability?
All right. Like I said a while ago, I'm a deaf biker, and deaf people find it easy to go around. And the deaf, and yes, it hasn't been really accessible for persons with disabilities. I use bike. People could use biking when they go to work. And and during the pandemic, using bike to commute has been very helpful because not everyone has the means to go to work, have y- less expense, in other words, tapos i-consider pa yung health benefits. And then for deaf people, biking can be, cycling is enjoyable but can also be dangerous. Yes, we use our eyes because we're very visual, but there are some riders or drivers who are very riders or bikers are very daring or wild, and then to share, they don't care kung sino yung makakabangga nila or upunan nila sa kalsada. Then to share a personal experience also, I used to bike, but I experienced sexual harassment sort of, because people were not, I don't understand why, pero may mga nakasakay dun sa jeep yung mga tao na nag-uugol, or they did catcalls, sinabi ng mga kasama ko. And I felt offended. I used to enjoy it, but I don't anymore. Maybe because it wasn't safe for me. That was my experience. So it would be better if we bike in a group with deaf and hearing. Siguro your age. And then you could make it accessible if you have, I think you should have more biking lanes, bike lanes, and have, like you said a while ago, and facilities where you could park your bikes. And hindi dapat pinagsasama yung daanan ng sasakyan sa daanan ng bike, lalo na kung for persons with disabilities, di ba, hindi lang naman nagbabike, those who have wheelchair, pwede rin dumaan doon. So it's friendly, it's accessible, and it's safe. Yeah, another experience I was is like ikakat ka while biking, ikakat ka ng isang motor, pwede kang ma-aksidente nun lalo na kung deaf ka. Sana discipline should also be learned for drivers and bikers alike. Para we respect each other's space, yung tamang lugar. There's a deaf bikers group na ginagawa ito for leisure, for fun, and for exercise. And then for those who are using wheelchairs, so if we make these bike lanes accessible, then it's also inclusive because it does not only give chance to us who are using these bike lanes, but also for persons with disabilities na pwede rin gumamit. So biking mostly is safe for deaf, but I'm not sure for other disabilities. Maybe if they use wheelchair, pwede rin po. It's better to be safe. Use safe gears or bike gears, and then protect yourselves, because it's better to be safe than sorry. That's it. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, Cresta. Okay, thank you for telling us about your experiences biking as a PWD. I agree. Protected bike lanes would also make life easier for people in wheelchairs, parents with strollers. This is my frustration, right? because they want us to go up the overpass with a stroller. I don't know. So yeah, so I think this would be helpful for many people, and we don't realize right now because we don't see wheelchair strollers, PWDs outside because they don't have a place. So if we build those places, then we will realize that many people really need them.
Yes, yes. If you make it inclusive and everyone else benefits, not just for a specific group of people. Yeah, let everyone enjoy our environment, the bike lanes, and let everyone make use of their rights. It's everyone's right to enjoy. We ask government to do their part mostly. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Cresta, I agree with you. Maraming salamat. Honestly, sa mga nakikinig po talaga, alam nyo ba na pag na-address natin ang mga needs ng mga vulnerable groups, sigurado na yan na the rest ay makakaranas din ng maayos na pagtatrato sa daan. Kaso lang talagang lagi nating nakakalimutan mga vulnerable groups sa ating mga plano, sa ating mga proyekto. So, gaya na sinabi ni Cresta, we are asking also the government, yung mga leaders natin, please, let's put the vulnerable groups at the center of our plans. Napaka-importante po nun. Kasi ang bicycle lanes, hindi lang po yun para sa mga mismong nagbibisikleta lang. Marami pong makakagamit ng bicycle lanes, hindi lang po nga yung mga nagbibisikleta. Katulad ng sinabi ni Corina, yung mga nanay na may maliliit na anak, mga nasa wheelchair, lahat po yun talaga makakagamit. So, imbis na tanggalin or paliitin ng bike lanes, dapat palawakin pa siya, pagandahin pa siya, at gaya na sinabi ni Cresta, gawin na natin siyang protected kasi para yung tao talagang mas lalong maramdaman nila na safe sila pag dumadaan sila doon at walang mga nakaharang. So bago tayo pupunta, may pa-shout out uli. Or may sasabihin pa si Cresta? Sorry.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
O
I
sige,
can answer
maraming
later if you
salamat,
want.
Cresta. Shout out po kay Joseph Inosante. Good day from BCERT Cycle Response Unit in Cebu. Maayong hapon, sir. Kay Attorney Ed, watching from Tacloban City. Maayong hapon, Sad. Jason Villeza, I agree with Bea and Corina and Jerry. Discover the world by riding the bicycles. Okay? Meron pa bang pahabol? Ayan. Sige.
Yes.
Yes, Cresta.
Yeah, sige, padagdag na lang po.
Sure.
If we can make our bike lanes more safe, that would be a lot better. Make them lighted. Teach people na kasi kung may light siya, there's less propensity na magkaroon ng sexual harassment. Hindi magiging matatakot ang ating mga bikers to enjoy the environment kasi safe na siya. At maiwasan din siguro, we will wear a proper attire so para yung comfortable and safe para hindi rin tayo ma-aksidente.
Maraming salamat, Cresta. I agree with you with the lights. Ayun nga, kadalasan kasi sa mga babae, sinasabi ng pamilya na parang wag ka na magbike sa gabi, delikado. And napaka-prone namin po sa harassment. But if we have proper lighting, safe bicycle lanes with CCTV and all, then you can be assured that women will still go out even in the evening and we will not fear of our safety. Maraming salamat, Cresta. So now, let's go to si Dr. Marivic. Let's save her for the last. Punta muna tayo siguro, Corina, kay Tita Yet and then sa'yo si Eloisa. So Tita Yet, may I call you na po? Alam ko nag-prepare to si Tita Yet ng kanyang presentation. Nag-research talaga siya. She's here to represent the elderly. Tita Yet, over to you. Are you
Yes.
here? Ayan, I can see you. Tita Yet, yung mga tanong
Okay
na
po.
binigay namin, para lang po marinig ng ating mga viewers, ang tanong po namin sa inyo ay, what is your assessment of the state of current urban mobility systems in the country? And why is it important to ensure that our mobility systems are attuned to the needs of the elderly? Pangalawa po, can you share with us po mga certain instances where you yourself experience difficulties navigating our roads because of our mobility system's lack of support for the elders? And last but not the least po, ano po yung mga factors na nagpre-prevent po sa inyo to use the bicycles and other alternative modes of transportation? What policies po kaya or infra ang kailangan po to make our transportation system more inclusive para po sa mga elderly? So over to you po, Tita Yet.
Yeah, Miss Jerry, thank you. But if you have some comments or additional inputs, you are free to butt in, and also Miss Corina.
Yes. O sige po, tulungan po namin kayo ni Corina.
Questions or something.
Opo. Over to you, Tita Yet.
Yeah, I have a slide. Yes. Thank you. Mobility for elders. Yung assessment ko regarding our current urban mobility system right now, our mobility systems right now is not that efficient. Number one, dun sa current status natin na 88% are using the public transport and active sport like biking or walking, dahil 12% lang ng mga Filipinos ang merong sasakyan, merong kotse. So dun sa 88%, hindi masyado nabibigyan ng advantage o ng pananaw yung mga nagbibisikleta. Okay? So no bike lanes yet for small towns or cities dito sa Pilipinas. Not all commercial establishments have bike racks. No educational teaching and training on how to use a bike. Later on, isa-isahin natin yan. Why is it important for us na mga elderly na in tune yung mga mobility system natin sa Pilipinas? Why is it important to us? Number one, especially during this pandemic, napansin ko na using a bike is very economical, di ba? Katulad ko, halimbawa, mamamalengke ako, I use my bike for buying errands, our food, medicine para sa aking nanay. So, napansin ko during this pandemic na isinira yung transport system natin, di ba? So, walang mga public utilities, lalo na nung lockdown. So, ito yung naging means of transportation ko and mostly ng mga Filipinos natin during that time. So, napansin ko na matipid pala siya. Number one, it is economical. Number two, mabilis siya, fast. Instead of, di ba, sasakayan muna ako ng maglalakad ka muna, sasakay ka ng tricycle, tapos sasakay ka ng jeep, ilan sakay yun. Itong pag nagbike ka, paglabas mo ng gate, maya-maya nandun ka na. In 10 minutes, nandun ka na sa palengke. Nakita ko rin during my research dun sa YouTube na pinag-compare yung nagbike, yung nag-use ng public transportation, at saka yung nagbike, nag-transport, tapos meron din na yung sarili niyang kotse. So sino nauna? Ang nauna yung nagbike. Kasi dito sa Pilipinas, dito sa Pilipinas, 'di ba? Pag sumakay ka ng MRT, ang daming tao, 'di ba? Pipila ka pa, ang haba. Tapos pagkatapos nun, sasakay ka ulit ng jeep o kaya sasakay ka ulit ng tricycle. So, ang dami mong gagawin pag magko-commute ka. Tapos pag sasakay ka naman ng sarili mong sasakyan, mas traffic naman yung kahalaban mo. So yun yung fast doon, yung importante makaalis ka kaagad. Makadating ka kaagad doon sa pupuntahan mo. Aside from that, sa mga elderly, yung health benefits niya. Napansin ko din during etong nagbike na ako. Kasi dati, nung dalaga pa ako, nagbabike naman talaga ako. Pero na nag-work na ako, hindi na ako nagbike. So, ditong pandemic, binalikan ko yung pagbabike ko. Nakita ko na nakatulong siya doon sa aking katawan, lumakas, tapos medyo na-control yung weight. Tapos maganda din siya sa heart natin. Tapos I find it so enjoyable. Lalo na pagpapunta doon medyo mahirap pa kasi pataas-taas pa, may mga pataas, may mga pa-curve. Pero pagpabalik na nakapamalengke ka na, nabili mo na yung gusto mo, madali na siya, malamig, masarap ng umuwi at mabilis. Yes. Ito yung yung tanong na ano yung personal experience ko doon sa navigating the road dahil sa mobility's lack of support for the elders. Not just for the elders but for us the bikers. One time nagpunta ako sa monumento, meron diyan bike lane, may bike lane diyan. Tapos merong biglang nagdaan na passenger. Imbes na magdaan siya doon sa kanyang ang tawag doon, pedestrian lane, dito siya nag-cross doon sa bike lane. Ngayon, yung ating MMDA, nakita ko meron naman dong MMDA na naka-base doon, pero hindi niya masyadong hindi niya masyadong binibigyan ng pansin yung bike lane. Ang binabantayan niya lang talaga yung mga sasakyan na malalaki. Kaya ang nangyayari, kanya-kanyang yung daanan ng mga bisikleta, dinadaanan din ng mga tao, at saka yung ating mga bike lanes, hindi siya ganon kalapad. 'Di ba? Hindi siya parang kasya ka lang doon sa yung bisikleta mo, tsaka syempre may mga dala-dala tayo na nasa likod, nasa harap. Pag meron na mag-overtake doon, nahihirapan na mapupunta na doon sa merong doon sa may daanan ng sasakyan. So hindi siya ganong ka-safe. Tapos pa ba? Yun yung napansin ko na hindi pa masyadong binibigyan ng toon ng gobyerno ang mga pagbibisikleta dito sa Pilipinas. Pero I'm positive naman right now because of yun nangyari sa atin during the pandemic. Nakakakita naman ako kahit kaunti ng mga changes katulad nung bike lane sa EDSA nakarating na sa Caloocan, pero not in Malabon. Ayun po. O ano pa? Next slide tayo. Ayun. Bakit? What are the factors that are preventing our elders to use bicycle and other alternative modes of transportation? Yun nga, for elders to use the road, which is not that safe, so hindi siya, kaya tinatamad na yung ibang elders. Pero kung makita siguro na maganda yung mga bike lanes, na conducive, na safe siya, kahit sa mga elders, sa mga women, siguro mas madaming maingganyan ng mga elders na magbisikleta. At saka yun nga, expensive yung mga bicycle. Kaya, syempre, mga elders na, hindi na masyadong, wala na masyadong source ng income. So, hindi na importante sa kanila yung mag-bike. Tapos, ang mahal pa. Eto na, what are the policies and infrastructures are needed to make transportation more inclusive to elders? Sana nga lang when our government make plans on infrastructure, I hope that they will include the elders in their plan. The safety of the cyclists, not just the elders, the women in particular. Sana i-include din nila tayo sa kanilang mga plans. No? Halimbawa, nung nagpagawa ng, halimbawa lang sa Malabon, wala pa ditong bike lanes talaga na madami, unlike sa Caloocan na meron na. Before sana mag-implement o mag-start ng infrastructure, sana magkaroon muna ng meeting sa mga barangay para i-include yung mga elders, mga PWDs, mga Pinays sa paggawa nila ng mga plano. Bago pa lang yung plano, i-include na, itanong na ano ba maganda para hindi naman masayang yung pondo. I'm sure may mga pondo for this, no? Kung merong pondo para sa mga ibang projects na malalaki, katulad ng malalaking mga yung mga daan na malalaki, big projects na billion, bakit hindi natin bigyan ng budget? Tapos yung budget na yun, gawin yung magandang project na hindi sayang naman, 'di ba? Yung tama na. Halimbawa sa bike lanes, lagyan ng mga ang tawag doon ng mga yung secured yung bike lanes, hindi kasama doon sa mga kotse, sa mga truck. Parang meron silang harang para hindi sila maaksidente. Yung mga ganon. Hindi yung basta nilagyan na lang ng pintura, bike lane na yon. Ganon. As nilagyan lang ng yung itsurang bike, no? Bike lane na daw yon. Tapos mamaya pag nagbabike ka doon, kasama mo yung mga yung mga truck, yung mga kotse, at saka yung mga motorista. Alam mo sa akin, anong nangyayari sa akin kasi pag nagbabike ako diyan sa EDSA, kinakat ako ng mga minsan biglang may paparada na sasakyan doon sa bike lane. Minsan merong magkakat sa'yo na motorista doon sa bike lane. Hindi ba yung motorista hindi naman dapat sa bike lane? Di ba? Hindi naman sila doon kaya nga bike lane yun. Tapos siguro yung information na itong mga bike lanes na to ay para sa bike. Siguro more on the information sa media, sa television, na magkaroon ng parang more learnings on how we can have a safety bike lanes para sa ating mga cyclists. Additional bike lanes on major roads, 'di ba? Kasi talagang kakaunti pa lang ang ating bike lanes sa Pilipinas. Kung dito sa Metro Manila kakaunti, paano pa yung ibang lugar, 'di ba? Tapos sana din safe bike racks on major thoroughfares. Nakikita natin yung bike racks, lalagyan ng bike doon sa mga commercial establishments lang po. Usually nandun sa harap ng mall, ng mga commercial establishments. Pero parang parang maganda na magkaroon ng bike lane sa mga palengke. Sa Mercury wala nga 'di ba? Sa Generica, yung mga ganon, magkaroon din ng mga racks para ma-convince o ma-convince yung mga elders, yung mga Pinay bikers na mag-bike. Kasi pagdating mo dun sa palengke, alam mo na safe yung bike mo. Merong racks doon, mailalak mo siya doon. Usually, ganito nangyayari sa palengke. Ang nangyayari sa palengke, pagpunta mo sa palengke, habang bumibili ka ng ulam, nakabike ka. Alam mo yung nakabike ka. Ang hirap-hirap talaga. Ngayon, kung magkakaroon tayo ng mga bike racks doon sa mga public places, mas maganda mas may encourage na mag-bike yung mga elders. Tapos bike only on secondary roads, especially in cities and in major towns. Sana meron ding sa mga secondary roads, wag na pumunta yung mga sasakyan, kundi doon lang yung mga bikers lang ang pwede doon. Yun ganon. Tapos strict implementation ng helmet para din sa safety ng mga nagbabike. Tapos naisip ko lang na i-include yung bike in the education curriculum ng mga estudyante natin para it will be safer para just in case na malalaki na sila, eto mga younger generations natin na they would like to use their bikes. So aware sila dun sa mga rules, mga regulations, kung paano gagamitin nila yung bike nila. Doon sa paggamit mo pa lang ng bike, 'di ba, may learnings na dapat 'yan eh. Paano ka sasakay, ano yung safe na pagsakay, paano ka aandar, paano ka mag-stop. Yun. Kung itinuturo yung mga ibang lessons sa school, I think it's about time na i-include din yung biking sa ating curriculum sa mga murang edad pa lamang, doon sa mga bata pa lang. Tapos ma-encourage na sila na mag-bike kasi ibigay na sa kanila yung advantages ng biking. Tapos sabihin din sa kanila na yung biking is not just for men. Ito ay para sa mga kababaihan, pwede rin sa mga elderly, pwede din sa mga not not differently able na mga individual, hindi lang siya para sa mga lalaki. Tapos sana magkaroon din ng accident insurance for bikers and hospitalization for bikers to include sa PhilHealth. 'Di ba? Hindi ko alam kung included na siya. Sana, halimbawa magkaroon ng hindi naman natin gusto na kung magkaroon ng ma-aksidente tayo using our bikes, no, while going to work or school, sana i-credit ng ng PhilHealth na hindi na ma-subsidize o malibre tayo sa gastos. That's it, ma'am.
Tita Yet, grabe. Ang dami mong sinabi. Honestly, lahat ng sinabi mo napaka-practical, napakadaling intindihin. And I hope may mga leaders tayo na nakikinig ngayon. Narinig niyo po mismo firsthand from a 60-year-old woman na nagbibisikleta. Sana po i-consider natin yung mga needs nila. Kasi kung kaya naman nila magbisikleta, why not? Doon sa mga anak, pamangkin, apo, kung yung mga lolo nyo, mga lola nyo, nagsabi sa inyo na gusto nila magbisikleta, i-encourage natin, samahan nyo. Gaya ni Tita Yet, she has found her independence, she's very happy with her bicycle. Hindi kasi, kahit ako po na-touch talaga ako, kasi I hope, ito talaga yung purpose ng ating webinar today na sana maintindihan nyo na ang bisikleta ay hindi lang para sa mga nagbibisikleta lang. May mga mas malalim pang factors na pinag-uusapan dito. PWDs, elderly, kailangan natin sila i-consider. And I hope nakinig kayong mabuti. Pwede nyong pakinggan uli itong webinar, nakasave na ito. And napakaganda ng presentation niyo, Tita Yet. Maraming salamat po.
Yun lang. Last word ko, yung inclusivity parating.
Yes.
doon sa napaka-diverse na ating mobility dito sa Pilipinas, dapat i-include lagi yung mga kababaihan, yung mga matatanda, yung mga PWDs. Tapos bigyan talaga ng halaga ng gobyerno ang pagbibisikleta kaysa doon sa paggamit ng mga sasakyan. Kasi ito mura na, tapos ano pa yung environmental friendly, 'di ba? And good for the heart, good for our body.
Yes, totoo
Thank
yan.
you
Alam nyo
po.
ba, offline kanina, nakwento ni Tita Yet na pag umaakit daw siya ng hagdanan, pag naglalakad siya, nararamdaman niya yung pressure sa tuhod niya, sa paa niya. Pero pag nagbibisikleta siya, hindi.
Tama,
So,
correct.
talagang ang laki ng tulong ng bisikleta para sa ating mga elderly. Tapos ang hinihiling po sana natin ay magkaroon na ng tuloy-tuloy na bicycle network. Gaya na sinabi niya, wala masyadong bike lane sa Malabon pero sa ibang cities meron. Alam nyo ba na napakahalaga na na ang pagbibisikleta mo ay tuloy-tuloy. Kasi kung
Tama.
katulad namin nila Corina na may kasama kami mga anak, may mga groceries kami, si Tita Yet ay elderly na, kung pahinto-hinto kami dahil may nakaharang, dahil hindi
Tama.
tuloy-tuloy ang bike lane, nahihirapan talaga ang ating mga vulnerable groups. So sana po talaga, let's push this so that yung mga elders natin makalabas naman po. So that they can feel the sun on their faces and the winds on
Amen.
their
Yes.
hair. Malaking bagay po yun. Hindi po natin yun kayang bayaran, honestly. So Tita Yet, maraming salamat po sa kwento nyo.
Opportunity ko din to thank
Yes.
this group na binigyan ng pagkakataon, no, na ma-explain yung side ng bawat eto kami PWD, yung mga elders and women bikers na binibigyan nyo ng importansya na makapag-explain kung ano yung nararamdaman at saka yung mga kailangan nating gawin. Sana maging sana maging continuous at saka sana magkaroon pa ng media exposure para lahat aware. Thank you sa inyo, talaga very successful.
Thank you, Tita Yet. Corina, would you like to say something?
No, but yes, that was a lot of information. And I agree that many people don't realize that for vulnerable road users, sometimes cycling is the best way to travel, especially if we can make that safe. Yeah.
Opo, thank you.
Thank you.
Tama po.
Thank you,
Salamat, tita.
Corina. Before I give to you, meron
Okay.
lang comment dito na from Ate Ai, from PBCC, sabi niya, ako po, 3 senior po ang kasama ko sa pagbabike from 65 years old to 69. Nagbabike po sila. Yes, kaya po ng ating mga elders ang magbisikleta. Do not underestimate their strength.
Yeah.
Please, wag natin sila ikahon. Hindi po lahat na parang mahina na honestly nakakatulong po sa kalusugan nila ang bisikleta. Narinig niyo po mismo yan kay Tita Yet. So, salamat po ulit. Thank you po. Karina,
Thank
over to
you.
you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tita Yat. So for our next panelist, Eloisa. Hi, Eloy. Eloy, everyone. Is that how you say? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you there, Eloy? Yes. Okay, I see you. So I have some questions for Eloy, and they are about biking and women. So let me just run through the questions and then you
Okay
can show us your presentation or your answers. Bicycles have played an important historical role in women's empowerment. The bicycle boom in the 1890s opened up a whole new world of independence for women by providing them with a newfound freedom of movement. That time, women were culturally expected to stay home, and the bicycle afforded women an accepted way to be outside as part of society. Today, women's rights are more advanced. We don't have to stay in the kitchen all day. But but advocates like you and me know that bicycles continue to be an emblem of women's rights and empowerment. So paano ba nakakatulong ang pagbibisikleta sa patuloy nating pakikipaglaban para sa patas na karapatan para sa mga kababaihan? And in our second question is related because one of the issues that probably we have all experienced as female cyclists, right, is catcalling and unsolicited sexual remarks.
Yeah.
So do female cyclists still experience sexism and gender-based harassment on the road or online? Maybe you have some stories to share about this, and maybe you also have some advice on how we should fight back when we experience these issues. Okay.
So, buti na lang na-prepare ko po sa screen pala. Wait lang, hanapin ko lang. Pwede ko na po i-share, no?
Yes.
So, first of all, hello everyone po. Salamat sa mga patuloy na nanonood sa page ko. I don't know if nakikita niyo yung comments nila, pero may mga comments din po sila sa tawag dito, sa webinar natin ngayon. So, hello everyone sa mga nanonood na subscribers ko. And share ko lang. Nakikita na po? Yes. Okay.
Yes, Iloy. Kita na.
Mamaya
Thank
ko na
you.
tayo. Yes, skip natin. So, ito muna po yung sa question nyo. Yes, back nung 2020, ito yung na-experience ko. I got called. And then, apparently, this post, hindi ko inakalang, mag-boom siya na with over 46,000 shares. Sorry, for a while. Nalobat na yung earphones ko. Wait lang po. Yeah. Hello po. Yan. Naka-speakers na ako. Clear na po ulit.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, ito yung na-experience ko. I got called twice the same day. And hindi ko inakalang magva-viral siya that time. And sari-saring reaction yung natanggap ko. But luckily, merong mga sa community natin. And I thankful ako dito sa Bike to Work Pilipinas. And lalaki actually yung admin nito na in light of the recent incident that time na circulating nung that time, they post this post to support me, and not just me but all of the female bikers na nahaharas sa daan. And yun nga, yung ginawa ko that time is ito yung complaint, and ano ko naman siguro lahat ng details ng kailan. So June 26, 2020, the same day, that catcalling incident happened. Nag-report ako sa barangay, and then sa magkabilang barangay yon na unfortunately 2 beses that day, and then nakaharap ko sila actually, and then ito yung mga statements nila na nakausap ko rin sila na parang meron din silang mga babaeng anak. At nung tinanong ko sila kung gusto ba nilang okay lang ba sa kanila na mangyari yon sa anak nila, which is hindi, ang sinagot nila syempre hindi. So yun yung sinasabi ko sa mga tao, especially na kung ayaw nyo gawin sa inyo, huwag nyo gawin sa iba, lalo na sa mga pamilya nyo, sa your loved ones, ganyan. And hindi lang ito sa babae. Of course, meron ding sa lalaki and sa LGBTQ communities natin na nakaka-catcall. But study suggests na babae po talaga ang usually nahaharas sa daan, and continuous yan, lalo na ngayon. Meron mga tao pa rin lumalapit sa akin na about this situation kasi alam nila na tawag dito, we can report this kind of situation. And ako kasi pinost ko to na para lang, napag-usapan din namin ni Miss Jerry last time kasi actually may vlog kami about bike commuting. So, abangan niyo po yun. Nag-promote na. Tawag dito, sabi niya, ikaw nga Miss Jerry, ikaw magsabi, hindi ako dapat nagsabi nun para share tayo. Ano yung sabi niyo po?
Ano nga yun, yung story? Ang dami.
Ang sabi niyo po is, paano ko ba nakatulong po, sabi nyo, yung post ko na yun.
Yes, oo. Nakatulong yung post ni Eloy na talagang lumakas yung loob ng ibang babae na mag-file or magpursige, ireklamo. Kasi alam naman natin kadalasan talaga we want to just keep quiet or ignore it. Pero yung post ni Eloy last year, nakatulong ng malaki sa community, sa Pinay by Commuter community din, lalo na ipursige yung kanilang case, na i-file at least, 'di ba? Kasi alam naman natin ang mga gender-based violence statistics, napaka underreported talaga niyan parate dahil nga sa fear of safety. Pero yun, malaking tulong yung post ni Eloy. Thank you.
Ayun, kasi hindi ako dapat nagsabi nun eh. Naano ko lang din nung kaya ako nakilala si Miss Jerry because of that situation. And when it comes to women empowerment, for me kasi parang cycling, aside from beneficial siya sa atin, sa health natin, it empowers me to express myself more and to conquer yung limit na ini-impose ng mga tao sa mga babae. So, ayun. yun yung naano ko when about the women empowerment. And ayun po. Gusto ko may kausap ako eh. Ayoko na. Kaya paano mong isip?
Gusto mo sagutin.
Yeah, gusto mo sagutin. But ayun. Kasi after this, meron naman din akong i-relate po yung when it comes to yung nga sa mga senior citizen and PWD na yung mga concerns po nila. Kasi andito rin ako, nakikinig din sa mga insights nila, and I have something to share about their concerns when it comes to our government and the policies for people na so we're talking about diversity din kasi. And thank you again for inviting me for this webinar to share my insights about this. And ayun, eto po yun.
Sige Eloy, share mo na. Yan ba yung sa commuters?
Yeah po, wait lang.
Yeah, sige.
Present, and then sobrang bago kasi yung pasensya na. Ayan. So recently kasi I have this I partnered with FNF Philippines with this campaign Freedom Cycle event virtual edition. So thankfully naging successful siya because yung sobrang overwhelming yung naging participation ng mga siklista. And then this event po kasi is ang objective nito is for the to promote smart mobility rights and amplify initiatives towards a safe, convenient, and affordable commute with dignity. So ito po yung usual na mga concerns ng mga kasama natin ngayon. And then it serves as a call to action to prioritize transport-related legislation such as the Commuter's Bill of Rights that ensures the right to infrastructure for cyclists and the right to fair share of public space. So ginawa po ang event na to para dito. And then kasi meron pong currently na nakabinben sa Kongreso na para sa ating mga commuters, lalo na especially sa mga siklista, na yung mga concerns po natin like yung rights of commuters na sa efficient, safe transportation, right to accessible and affordable transportation, right to sustainable transportation and urban mobility, right to information and participation and policy making, and right to redress, nakapaloob dito sa bill na to. So, sa mga nanonood ngayon, and then sana tayo, mas pag-igihin pa natin na sana itong bill na to is maipasa na, maisabatas na. And ito, that's the Magna Carta of Commuters, which is infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists, and person with disabilities. So, ito yung general policies for us. So, may for pedestrian and cyclists, shower facilities in establishment, bike racks in every transport hub, commercial center, adequate sidewalks, and bike lanes. Yung concern ni Ms. Cresta kanina na sana may mga ilaw sa daan, especially sa mga person with disabilities, and network of green grays, proper lighting on all roads and footpaths. So, dito sa Metro Manila, sa pagko-commute ko recently kasi pag lumalabas ako, commute lang. Usually yung pag nagte-train ako, indoor kasi. And doon ko na-experience yung grabe paggabi ka kasi ako kilala ako as cyclist na into sports, not in the commuting. But dun nung pag nagbabike ako sa gabi, dun mo makikita yung lahat ng concerns na dapat i-address ng government natin eh. And especially dito sa mga person with disabilities na dapat may accessible na stops para sa kanila. And yun nga, may mga tactile paving on sidewalks and safe intersection and pedestrian crossing. So I hope we can in-invite ko kayo i-support din itong advocacy, itong campaign to promote our smart mobility rights. So, yun. And then, ayan, ito meron din ako. Kasi may mga videos din po ako ginagawa sa vlog ko. Ito is mga short vlogs na, ayan, Protect Bike Lanes, episode 1 and 2. And nakita nyo naman mga 500,000 views siya. And minsan sumasakit yung ulo ko dito kasi in a way na sinasabi kasi nila na maraming cyclists na pasaway, di ba, Miss Jerry? But napag-usapan namin ni Miss Jerry na oo, meron. I agree to that. But ako yung isa sa mga tao na sasabi na hindi ko inaano yon, parang like yung traffic light, yung pag-red light, hindi ko siya kinukonsente. So, yung sabi sa akin ni Miss Jerry last time is yung cyclist versus sa motorist, Miss Jerry, ikaw naman nagsabi nun.
Yes, sinabi ko kay Iloy na syempre may mga pasaway talaga sa daan, di mo naman talaga maiiwasan yan. Pero sabi ko kay Iloy, pag ang isang siklista or pedestrian nagkaroon ng pasaway attitude, siguro nakakainis siya or maiinis ka, masisira araw mo, ganun lang. Hindi siya makakapatay. Pero pag nag-feeling entitled or naging kumbaga hindi maganda ang attitude, naging pasaway ang isang motorista, napakalaki po ng chance na pwede siyang makapatay ng ibang road users. I'm using the word makapatay kasi talagang what they're using, what they're driving with them is really something na talagang madi-disable ka or talagang pwede mong ikasawi. So, ayun po. So, sana medyo i-vary din natin yung reaction pagdating sa mga siklista, pedestrian versus sa mga demotor na sasakyan. So, yun. Iloy, back to you.
At the end of the day, ako na sorry, at the end of the day din kasi parang kailangan, sinabi ko rin to with nakausap ko last time, na at the end of the day though, yeah, I agree na may mga tinatawag na kung may kamote, motorists, may mga kamote riders din. But yung kailangan dito is better understanding towards each other. Like yung ngayon na madaming from motorists sila or from nagka-car sila, nag-transition to cycling ngayong pandemic. Marami nagsasabi sa akin na ay ganun pala yun. Nung after nilang mag-bike na dun mas naging nagkaroon sila ng empathy towards the cyclists. So I hope everyone could try cycling once in their life para ma-open yung eyes nyo kung ano bang benefits niya para sa atin, not just about our health but sa community. And ayun, like I said kanina, pumapadyak ako para to freedom to move, to express myself more as a woman, as a member of the community, and ayun.
Thank you, Eloy. Yes, great insight. So especially as a woman, marami nga talaga tayong nararanasan. Right? Pero not only on a bike, diba? Kasi you know, like a bike, we can encourage everyone to try. Being a woman, not everyone gets to have that experience. So that's why please, maybe even if you don't experience it yourself, please listen to the women in your lives when they tell you about the issues that they're having. Please don't just say, ay, maarte ka lang or whatever, because sometimes things affect women differently than they might other users. So thank you so much. And thank you. And also with that, I also have to, I also have to say goodbye to everyone for now. But Jerry will continue, and we have more panelists to hear from. I wish I could stay, but I have to work. So
Maraming salamat, Corina. As in, I
okay.
appreciate you. Sabi ko sa inyo, kulang talagang isa't kalahating oras pag pinag-uusapan ang mga
For sure.
issues. Sobra. Siguro kailangan ng isang buong araw ng webinar na ganito.
For
But
sure.
Corina, thank you so much. And please do follow her page sa Instagram and Facebook, 2 Wheels 3 Hearts. And please support Safe Streets for All. Thank you,
So
Corina.
for all of us.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Jerry, and Mobility Awards. Please, if we haven't nominated our favorite bike-friendly places, let's do that.
Thank you. Eloy, maraming salamat din sa pag-share mo. We sincerely appreciate that you are using your platform to engage your viewers or subscribers para maintindihan pa yung mga ibang concerns and issues ng mga kababaikihan sa daan. So more power to you, Eloy. And I'm looking forward for that vlog na ginawa natin pareho for the bike commuting.
And shoutout din pala po sa mga nanonood, kila Mel Romero, yan. Sa mga bashers ko dyan, charot. Meron kasi isang basher dito. Hello po sa iyo. Mabuhay ka pa rin po. And maraming salamat sa patuloy na nanonood dyan, Miko Nieva. And kasi kanina pa sila dito. Tapos, yan, meron din silang share ng mga insights natin sa webinar natin. So maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you. Sa mga subscribers ni Eloy, salamat. Sa mga bashers niya, salamat din.
Hindi naman.
Joke lang. But thank you, please continue to support also Eloy. And I'm sure our organizers are also looking at your page, Eloy, kung may mga comments sila doon. Maraming salamat. Diyan ka lang, Eloy. Ang susunod nating speaker, kanina wala siya, hindi natin siya napakilala, pero I'm very excited to introduce po si Dr. Marivic Tan. She is a cyclist and she's also a gynecologist in Cebu, kababayan ko. She finished her BS Essential Medicine Sciences from the University of the Philippines in Manila and MD from also in the University of the Philippines in Manila. She received her residency training at the Philippine General Hospital, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Maayong hapon, Dr. Marivic. Maraming salamat for joining us. Napaka-importante po ng makukuha namin na insight from you. If I may share na po the questions po para sa inyo. Sandali lang po. Alright. Sige po. Doktora, alam niyo naman po, napakaraming myths and misconceptions ang kinaharap ng isang babae na gusto magbisikleta. Gusto nila magbike pero marami silang iniisip, especially about their reproductive health. So as a medical doctor po, how will you respond to the following common misconceptions on women and cycling? Gaya po ng, number 1 po to, lagi nilang tinatanong sa akin to, biking makes you lose your virginity. Yung iba naman sinabi that riding bikes is harmful to women's sexual health. Number 3, sabi rin nila, pregnant women should not bike. Yung iba naman, pag nagbabike ka daw, naapektuhan daw ang menstrual period mo. Nagsuslow down daw siya. And then, sabi din nila, cycling makes your thighs bulk up. So, siguro yun po muna, Doktora, ibigay ko bago ko sabihin yung 3 pang question. Ano pong masasabi niyo dito sa mga myths and misconceptions po na ito?
First of all, thank you very much to Mobility Awards and also to Jerry for the invitation. It's a privilege to speak here. Maayong hapon, magandang hapon, at good afternoon, everybody. So, yes, let's tackle the myths about cycling and women in general. First, virginity. That's actually not true, okay? So you will not lose your virginity. Although I have to say, some women are actually have, yung mga hymen kasi ng mga iba-ibang babae, iba-iba din ang structure. Some have very rigid hymen and some have very friable ones, but that is very rare. So if you're normal, it will not destroy your virginity. virginity. Okay, so that's one. Second is sexual health. So actually, there was a study by Dr. Guess, Marcia Guess, regarding sexual health and women and cycling. It was a small study about mga 40-something women lang, and they studied the effect on the perineum. Yun yung kung saan tayo natatamaan sa saddle, okay? Saan tayo nakasakay sa saddle. So, ang finding nila is there's an increased risk of parang abnormal sensations or loss of sensation or yun, medyo inflammation in the perineal area. But they found out that it is actually a manageable, correctable issue because it's related really to the anatomy sa bike. So kaya part dapat ng campaign natin as women for gender inclusivity and democracy is that there should really be also bikes for women. Stores should be really selling bikes specifically for women, saddles specifically for women, because medyo siguro dahil konti lang ang nagbabike na babae, parang nakakalimutan na tayo ng market or ng retail shops as an important customer. Parang binabaliwala na. So we have to stick with whatever's available, right? But in general, yun lang talaga ang issue and it's correctable and manageable. But in terms of function ng sexuality, hindi siya affected. Okay? Regarding naman yung tanong about pregnant women, so actually, different pregnancies are also require also different forms of activity. If you have a delicate pregnancy at sinabi ng doktor, mag-bed rest, wag masyadong mag-strenuous activity, of course you listen to your doctor. But if your pregnancy has gone naturally, normally, you're not bleeding, you can continue to cycle, and medyo magiging issue lang yung later part of pregnancy because your position on the bike will actually cause a little bit depending on the position. So if you're a commuter, you're upright, it should really not affect, especially if you can lift your saddle higher up and your legs do not press too much on your belly, it should not be a problem. But for any issues na mag-arise as a result of cycling, like kung nag-bleed ka or nag-contractions ka, of course, ipapahinga mo siya. Okay? But in general, pregnancy is not a contraindication to cycling. Okay? All right. Now, ano pa yun, Jer? I think menses, right?
Yes, mens po at saka cycling can make your thighs bulk up daw.
All right. So, first the menses. Ang worry ng karamihan is that they might have irregularities in their cycle. Okay? But contrary to that, a lot of women who exercise will actually have regular cycles, lalo na yung mga patients who have polycystic ovaries or yung mga pasyente na medyo overweight, and as a result of their increase in weight, nagkakaroon sila ng mahahabang intervals ng menses nila. Exercise and weight loss or loss of weight will actually promote a healthier cycle, a more normal, regular cycle. So, medyo kabaliktaran yun. Cycling might actually improve your cycle if you have a problem. So, I encourage yung mga medyo may na-diagnose na mga polycystic ovaries, maybe it's about time to cycle. In fact, osteoarthritis is also improved if you're cycling because it's non-impact, low impact siya. And it's a good way to lose weight without the impact on your knees. So it's going to help women and people in general to be more active. So cycling is a very good opportunity to improve your health. Okay? Eh yung bulk up ng thighs, I don't know why that's a problem. Ako gusto ko yun.
True.
Getting stronger. Well, if you're cycling if you're cycling regular, like parang what we call flat roads, hindi ka yung parang very what you call this what's the right term? Parang relaxed kind of cycling lang. Hindi yung your training, parang si Eloy, training niya na maging super malakas. Dapat nauuna siya sa lahat. If you're not into competitive cycling, it shouldn't really increase your thighs. So, mag-firm pa nga siya eh. If ever man mag-bulk up siya, mawawala naman yung fat. Yung mag-bulk up is the muscle. It will look sexier. Mas maganda. Right? So, I would like to debunk the fact that it will, on a negative side, lalaki siya. Actually, on a positive side, magfo-firm up siya. That's the better term. Firm up rather than lalaki.
Yes. Salamat, Doc.
Yeah.
Actually, Doc, sa mga nabanggit ko kanina ng mga myths and misconceptions, meron pa po ba kayong ibang naririnig about it? Or may gusto pa po ba kayong i-clarify? On the top of my mind kasi yun yung mga madalas kong naalala. Ay, sinabi rin nila na nakakabaog daw ang pagbibisikleta. Yun yung mga naririnig ko. Pero aside from that po, meron din po ba kayong ibang naririnig about common myths and misconceptions tungkol sa babae na nagbibisikleta?
Well, yung iba, yung concerns nila rather than myths and misconceptions is iitim sila. Yun. But I think there are ways to avoid sun damage. So there's SPF creams already. You can put arm sleeves. You can wear bike short, not necessarily bike shorts, pwedeng bike pants. So merong ways to manage it. So in a way, it becomes a myth because you can manage it. Ano pa ba? Women, well, yung iba sasabihin nila na magiging mukhang lalaki ka na.
Yeah.
Kasi kulada and everything. But I don't know, it's I hear my parents saying that. I hear my mom used to say that to me, but then I get flattered actually. Ibig sabihin, nagiging firm ang katawan ko. So it's a sign actually that the society is evolving. Gone are the days na yung idea of a woman, is talagang walang muscle, very dainty looking. Now, a strong woman is a beautiful woman, right? So, I think that's about the myths I kind of know.
Salamat, Doktora. Ayan, malaking tulong po kasi talagang I'm sure yung mga nakikinig ngayon, even the guys, the men who are listening to us, minsan sa kanila din nanggagaling yung mga ganyang mga myths kasi narinig din nila from other people or even syempre yung iba rin nating mga magulang, ganyan din yung mga naririnig nila. Pero ayun, narinig nyo na po yung sinabi ni Doktora, hindi po nakakaapekto ang bisikleta sa period, sa inyong pregnancy. Importante po talaga na laging magpakonsulta kayo sa inyong doktor. Doc, meron po dito last 2 questions sinabi dito. Ano pa po kaya yung pwede nyong ma-impart na additional benefits ng cycling sa isang babae? At ano po yung mga tips na pwede niyo pong ibigay sa mga nagbabalak magbisikleta or mga nagbibisikleta na para ma-ensure yung safety sa daan?
Okay, first regarding health benefits, of course, the health benefit is innumerable. Marami talaga siyang nadudulot na maganda para sa babae, especially for cardiovascular health. So, I think we heard Tita Yet a while ago saying na mas healthy siya, maganda sa puso. So, it's very true. And I would like especially to address a certain age group of women, Jerry, especially yung mga perimenopause o yung mga papuntang menopause at saka yung mga menopause.
Ayun, yun pa pala po, Doktora.
Yeah.
Yes, opo.
Yeah, because the reason I'm mentioning this is because this is actually the time when women are told na, ay, matanda ka na, dapat hindi ka na nagbabike, delikado na, parang you're abusing your body, baka hindi na makarecover. But actually, that's the time when you need to exercise. It's the period of a woman's life where kahit anong diet mo, talagang tumataas na yung cholesterol. It's a part of the degenerative changes in women, part of the phase of menopause where talagang nagkakaroon ng hormone derangements, nagiging very labile yung hormones natin. And sometimes it's the physical activity of cycling improves the general health in terms of metabolic health, yung mga cholesterol levels, mga triglycerides, yan, nag-i-improve yan. And it reduces your risk for hypertension, for diabetes. So that's one advantage physically. Mentally, emotionally, maganda. If you who are cycling, you can impart to everybody that it's very refreshing. I always, when I'm on my bike, I always feel I'm happy. I always tell everybody na if I cannot describe the joy I feel when I'm on a bike. I enjoy nature. I'm taken to places, and iba ang endorphins ng bike cycling. So like I'm a triathlete, so I also have other sports. I run, I swim, but the being on a bike is very different. It's very relaxing. Kahit na it's in a competition, your brain, according to Einstein, the best things that he thought of while riding a bike. So ganun siya ka improve circulation to the brain and very mentally relaxing. So I encourage it not just for physical health, but mental, emotional health as well.
Thank you, Doktora. Ayan, kita nyo naman, napakaraming benefits talaga. And yung sinabi nga ni Doktora kanina, yung mga malapit na mag-menopause or nandun sa stage na yon, malaking tulong po ang bisikleta po talaga sa inyo. Gusto ko lang pong ulitin yung napaka-importante na point na sinabi ni Doktora. Doktora, kasi tinatanong din yan sa akin eh. Parang, Miss Jerry, hanapan mo naman ako ng extra small na size na bike. Laging wala sa market. Puro daw medium, puro daw large. Tapos minsan yung mga spouses nila or partners nila would tell them na parang, pwede na yan sa'yo, sakyan mo na yan. Pero honestly, hindi talaga. Kasi meron po talagang important consideration sa aming mga babae. Sukat, yun. Napaka-importante po nun. So, kung meron man available sa market, diba, Doktora, yung iba dun mahal. So, sana talaga, the market would really consider us, women, the elderlies, kung ano yung mga kailangan namin para maging komportable ang aming pagbibisikleta. So, yes.
Sana, I read an article, it's actually a study that said that women and e-bikes, actually the presence of the e-bikes making it more affordable, will actually encourage women on doing transport cycling. So I was thinking if they can just make the price of the e-bikes lower or make it more accessible to the public, like in Japan, for example.
I agree.
If you see Japan, kahit 80 anyos na lola, nagbo-bike pa to the groceries, no?
Yes.
Nagpo-fly mount pa yan pag may traffic light. Ang bottom line ko dyan, especially in Cebu, Cebu, the terrain in Cebu, it's not flat. It's talagang of hills there. And sometimes that discourages, if people who are starting on the bike, parang feeling nila, hindi ko kaya. So they end up not enjoying it. Maybe having e-bikes or even having just a facility where people can start to bike, like a small park where beginners can start to develop their strength and their courage to start biking would actually be very good. And as mentioned before by all the other speakers, infrastructure is very important talaga. Kasi, again, if you look at Japan, I think even if they're not really gender-wise, you cannot say it's equal for women and men. But a lot of women are cycling because I think that government made infrastructure for them and made bicycles very affordable and accessible to all types of women, nanay, or your competitive cycling, or your elderly na, they have those things. So it's very important that we have infrastructure. In fact, the study from University of Minnesota, that they actually checked and found out that infrastructure was the biggest concern of women, because they felt that there was a higher risk for women riders because they were women. You know, they found out that drivers had a tendency to encroach on the bike lanes because they were up against women rather than if they were up against men. So being a woman alone increases your risk. So if we had the proper infrastructure, that lessens the risks or the probability. So it will encourage more women to cycle.
I agree, Doktora. Yung sinabi ni Doktora kanina na e-bikes, ito yung ano pa rin, mukha siyang bisikleta pero electric powered po siya. So pag aakit ka ng mga hills, hindi mo ramdam yung ahon. Kasi, Doktora, dito kasi sa Pilipinas, pag sinabi mong e-bikes, ito yung mga scooter na electric. Yeah. Pero yung sinasabi po ni Doktora is yung electric bike po mismo na nakikita natin sa ibang first world countries na malaking tulong po sa mga elderly, sa mga vulnerable groups. And I agree po, Doktora, the infra is very, very important. That's why in the Philippines hanggang ngayon, magtataka ka, kaliwat kanan na ang bike lane, pero bakit konti pa rin ang babaeng nagbibisikleta? It's because the bike lanes that was given to us is not that safe. It's just a paint. May mga pumapasok pa rin na motorista, may mga nakaharang pa rin. So talagang a woman will not feel safe to bike in this bike lane. So sana po talaga pag i-improve pa natin ang ating bike lanes para po mas dumami pa po ang mga babae at vulnerable groups na magbisikleta.
Jer,
So,
hindi
yes.
lang yan. I think it's not just infrastructure, but then, kasi like in Cebu, there are areas na may bike lanes, but then the motorists don't respect it. Yeah. So it's really implementation of transportation policies. Like we have buses, for example, na kakat sa'yo, mag-overtake, magbubusina, busina, mag-overtake. Tapos biglang hinto sa harap mo, just pick up a passenger. And then, ito naman, mga siguro wala pang 100 meters away, sila, accelerate, tapos magsa-stop na naman. Kasi yung then nasanay na susunduin sila, hindi na lang sila maglalakad. So maybe it also will help na we have bus stops that are really proper bus stops. Hindi yung may bus stop kami sa Cebu na naka-uphill ka. So talagang struggle. Sabi ko, gusto kong sabihin sa nagde-drive ng bus, palit kaya tayo. Subukan mo ikaw dito sa bisikleta. Magsa-stop ka tapos magsa-start ulit. So it's a challenge, and I think it's also basically a revolution of the mind and the attitudes of people. Not only infrastructure. People have to be ready to respect the bike lanes as well. Kasi kahit anong lagay mo ng bike lane, kahit lagyan mo pa yan ng harang dyan, if talagang resistant yung culture ng tao to accept or to respect that bike lane, nothing will happen.
Totoo po yan. Ako, kilalang-kilala ang mga bus sa Cebu. Alam ko yan. Pero hindi naman po talaga pinagkaiba. I mean, hindi lang po buses. Talagang yung sinasabi namin, Doktora, mga motorists, please extend your respect to bikers because you'll never know. These are mothers, doctors, employee, sister, a loved one of a family member. So tingnan nyo sila bilang tao, not as someone na nagbibisikleta lang. Okay? Salamat po, Doktora. Sana po stay po kayo. Kasi may last pa po tayo, si Jawo. Jawo, salamat for staying. And then pagkatapos nun, may open forum tayo later. So thank you po, Doktora, uli.
See you in a while.
I enjoyed our discussion. So last but not the least, Jawo, I appreciate you staying on. Si Jawo, can I give you the questions? Yung 4 na tanong is, para sa isang activist na kagaya mo, paano nakatutulong or nagiging simbolo ang pagbibigay bisikleta laban para sa mga LGBTQIA+ at urban poor rights. Ang isa pang tanong, Jowo, is do LGBTQIA+ cyclists also experience gender-based violence, gender-based harassment on the road? And ano kaya yung mga policies and programs na pwedeng ma-address ito? And then what does sustainable urban mobility mean for the urban poor family? And last but not the least, how can we make our roads more inclusive for the majority of the Filipinos who do not own a private car? So, Jowo, over to you.
Yan, magandang hapon. Maraming salamat, Jerry. So, yes, ako po ay isang LGBTQIA+ and urban poor rights activist na gumagamit ng bisikleta para makapag-transport sa iba't ibang lugar. So, for me, yung cycling, ayan, I have some photos po to share para lang makita yung ginagawa ko as an activist for the LGBT and urban poor. So, yan, for me, yeah, cycling is a way for me to fight the stigma and stereotypes sa LGBT community. Kasi di ba alam natin or commonly yung cycling is viewed as a manly activity, di ba? Pang lalaki, pang malalakas, hindi pang mahina. And on the other side, yung LGBT community naman, kami tinitingnan na may hinang mga nilalang, di ba? Malambot, flamboyant. So for me, na mag-bike as an out and proud member of the LGBT community, dinudurog namin yung dalawang backward and traditional idea na ang biking ay para sa mga lalaki lamang at ang mga bakla ay hindi pwede sa mga malalakasang gawain, pang malalakasang activity. So, parang pinapakita namin na kaya namin gumawa ng iba pang mga bagay outside doon sa kung paano kami kinahon ng lipunan. While bilang urban poor activist naman, yung pagbibisikleta, hindi lang siya basta mode of transportation or recreational activity para sa mga matalita, mahihirap. Isa rin siyang source of living, source of income sa aming mga mahihirap. Diba? Merong mga pedicab drivers, mga padjak dito sa Metro Manila. Merong mga vendors na ginagamit ay bisikleta para magtinda ng kanilang mga paninda. So, yung pagbabike ay pagpapakita ng pagiging matyaga, masipag, diba, hardworking ng mga mahihirap. Contrary doon sa kung paano kami pinaint ng lipunan ng gobyerno na ang mahirap, tamad, alaasa sa gobyerno, di ba, panahingi, inaayuda. Pero kami, yung pagbibisikleta, isang paraan para lumaban kami para sa aming kabuhayan. Lalo ngayong pandemya na bawal lumabas. Di ba, kung hindi ka naman essential worker, kaming mga maralita, lumabas talaga sa pagiging essential worker yung aming kabuhayan. Vendor kami, pedicab driver, at iba pa. So, nagpupumiglas talaga kami para makalabas. At itong pagbabike ay isang paraan, o yung bisikleta mismo ay isang paraan para kumita ng kabuhayan yung mga maralita. Pero ano yung ginagawa ng government, ginagawa ng estado? So, just recently, and I have some pictures po to share, pwede pa next. Yung mga pedicab drivers dito sa Quezon City, specifically dyan sa Agham Road, ayan, mga nanay, tatay yan na naghahanap buhay, kumikita sila around 200 pesos sa entire day na pagbibisikleta nila. Pero, paulit-ulit silang kiniklearing, sinasamsam, what do you call that? Kinukumpiska yung kanilang mga bikes. Sa kanila, yung mga bisikleta nila, utang yan most of the time, utang lang yan. Like nag-range siya ng 7,000 yung isang bisikleta na may sidecar. Inuutang lang nila yan, pero kukunin pa ng MMDA dahil sa clearing operations. Sobrang walang hustisya. Kasi ito nga yung kanilang source of living. Pag kinuha mo yan, magugutom sila. Ang pwede nilang asahan ay tulong sana from the government, ayuda, di ba? Pero wala silang nakukuha from the government. Kung meron man, kakarampot, di ba, mangilang-ilang relief packs na hindi sustainable para sa mga maralitang Pilipino. So, hanggang sa kasalukuyan, marami pa rin yung mga kinumpiskahan ng mga bikes, mga pedicabs, ang hindi pa nakukuha. Tapos ang sinasabi lang ng MMDA, ang tingin nila sa mga pedicab drivers, sakit daw sa mata. Parang dumi lang sa kalsada. Di ba, na taliwas. Kasi ito ay malaking tulong ng mga pedicab drivers, di ba? Lesson nga sila sa pollution sa cities. Kasi instead na mag-tricycle, sumakay ng jeepney, or kung ano mang vehicle, yung mga commuters, sa pedicabs, di ba, environmental friendly yung kanilang mode of transportation. So ayun yung paglaban ng mga LGBT at bilang isang maralita or pag-symbolize ng bisikleta, pagbabike para sa paglaban sa aming karapatan. Tapos next, kami mga miyembro ng LGBT ay subject din kami sa mga gender-based harassment, hate, discrimination. Ako personally, ilang beses na akong nakaka-catcall sa daan. 'Di ba? May experience pa nga ako na pinalayas ako sa isang establishment dahil sa suot ko na inappropriate daw. Kaming mga LGBT na nagbabike, lalo na maralita ka, mahirap, hindi mo afford yung mga proper cycling gear, mga bike jersey. So susuot kami kung ano yung komportable sa amin, kung ano yung presko, ano yung meron kami, kung anong available, as long as komportable at presko kami, susuotin namin yan. So ayun, yung experience yung kinukwento kanina, in Marikina, sa isang establishment sa Marikina, pinaalis ako dahil inappropriate daw yung suot ko. Nagbabike ako, outdoor, tapos napakainit ng Pilipinas. Yung pinakita kong picture earlier, pwede pa, yung na-feature din ako sa Mobility Awards. So, ayan yung suot ko noon. Ayan, that one. So, pinaalis ako doon sa establishment dyan sa Marikina dahil sa suot kong yan. Pero syempre, naman ako, lumaban doon sa nagpalayas sa akin na guard, paliwanag, na ito ay damit ko, walang masama dito, wala akong binabiolate na karapatan ng kahit ano. At napaka-init nga ng Pilipinas, di ba? Nagbabike ako, kailangan ko maging komportable, maging presko. So, ganun yung nararanasan namin mga LGBT na cyclists. Di ba yung mga miss pasabay, mga ganyan, mga pangsisit-sit, mga bastos na salita na natatanggap namin sa kapwa cyclists at sa mga kahit mga pedestrian, mga mga motorista, halo-halo na kung sino-sino na ang bumabastos sa amin bilang cyclist kasi ini-expose mo yung sarili mo sa labas na hindi namin kasalanan. So, paano natin i-address ngayon yung ganitong mga instances, discrimination na nararanasan namin? Meron na tayong existing bill na sinusulong sa gobyerno, yung SOGI Equality Bill, na hindi lamang mariresolve yung issue ng mga LGBT and women cyclists, kundi women and LGBT in general sa buong Pilipinas pag ito ay natupad. Magbibigyan ng protection kami from discrimination, di ba, from hate, from harassment. And also, yung strict implementation ng mga existing na batas. Meron tayong Safe Spaces Act na nagpoprotekta sa mga kababaihan, LGBT, kahit sino, actually kahit straight kang lalaki, pwede ka protektahan ng batas na ito sa Safe Spaces Act. Mas vulnerable lang talaga ang kababaihan at miyembro ng LGBT. So kailangan ng strict implementation sa mga batas na ito. Yung mga anti-discrimination ordinance, di ba? May mga LGUs na may anti-discrimination ordinance. Sa problema, hindi siya nagiging, kumbaga hindi na-implement strictly, or mga kababaihan, LGBT, kimi pa rin na magsalita kahit naka-experience ka niyan sa isang siyudad na may anti-discrimination ordinance kasi ang matatanggap mo parang victim blaming. Ito yung that time yung experience ko niyan. Pinost ko kasi online na pinalis ako sa establishment. Tapos yung mga men cyclists ako pa yung sinisisi dahil daw bastusin yung suot ko, mali daw, inappropriate yung suot ko. Parang for me, wala naman ako nakikitang mali. Pero pag male cyclist ka, naka-topless, pag yung jersey nila na binababa yung zipper, walang bastos sa kanila, walang bumabastos. Pero pag kami, sinuot lang namin yung komportable sa amin, yung confident kami, na-express namin yung aming sexuality, gender, mababastos kami. So, ganun yung nangyayari. And then for me, parang kailangan din na gumawa ng projects, policies, hindi lang yung government, kundi yung private sectors para mag-raise ng awareness at visibility sa nararanasan ng mga kababaihan at ng LGBT community, di ba? Pwedeng magkaroon ng mga seminars, orientation, information drive. Ito mga employer sa kanilang mga empleyado. Maraming organization ang willing magbigay ng discussion, ng orientation na libre pa, di ba? Hindi na kailangan magbayad. So kailangan lang maging sila, kung mas aware sila, mas ipatupad nila yung mga ganitong projects and policies. Also, I think makakatulong din kung meron tayong mga road infographics sa kalsada mismo na parang kino-call out yung catcalling, 'di ba? Magkaroon kaya nga nating kaya nga ng mga private sector ng mga businesses maglagay ng napakaraming advertisement sa kalsada. Why not maglagay ka ng isang informational na announcement dyan sa kalsada na nagpoprotekta sa kababaihan at member ng LGBT. Tapos magkaroon din ng mga help desk, women and LGBT help desk na very accessible. 'Di ba? Kasi alam ko merong mga help desk, siguro yung PNP, mga LGUs, pero ang hirap nila ma-reach, ang hirap nila ma-contact. So kailangan magkaroon ng accessible sa paanong paraan. Yung paglalaan ng gobyerno ng pondo, ng sufficient fund para maging active itong mga help desk na ito, maging proactive sila sa pag-iisip ng mga plano kung paano pa mag-raise ng awareness regarding sa issues ng LGBT and women bikers at LGBT and women in general. Then sa amin namang Maralita, 'di ba, ang sunod na tanong ay ano yung ibig sabihin ng sustainable urban mobility? So para sa amin yung sa Maralitang Pilipino dito sa lungsod, yung tunay na sustainable urban mobility ay nangangahulugan ng people-centered urban development. So, ang ibig sabihin, nakapauna yung pangangailangan ng mamamayan, ng tao. Hindi ng mga negosyo, hindi ng mga sasakyan, kundi ng mga tao mismo. Sa decent housing, di ba, paninirahan, sa kabuhayan, livelihood, sa mga social services, edukasyon, hospitals, etc. Kasi para sa amin, walang silbi na napakaraming bike lanes sa mga kalsada, maraming bike facilities, pedestrian lane, kung kaming mga nakatira doon sa community ay dinedemolish, pinapalaya. Sino ba kikinabang ng mga bike lane? Diba? Kaya nga, for me, napaka-performative and somehow elitista yung mga establishments. I mean, maganda na may mga initiatives sila sa kasalukuyan para sa mga bikers, mga bike-friendly na facilities. Pero performative kung yung mismong pag-exist ng establishment na yan, yung pagtatayo dyan, tinayo siya at the expense ng pagpapalayas ng mga nakatira doon, di ba? Yung pagre-reclaim ng baybay ng mga tabing dagat, hindi na wala ng kabuhayan yung mga mangingisda, yung mga tao doon. Sino pang mag-e-enjoy doon sa yung bike-friendly facilities? Di ba? Kung wala naman na yung mga tao, edi yung mga mayayaman na lang rin. So sa amin, yung inclusivity sa cycling, sa bike scene ay pagpapauna doon sa pangangailangan ng tao, ng mga taong naninirahan doon. Then pag na-resolve mo yon na binigay mo yung pangangailangan ng mga tao through urban development na people-centered, gawin mo ngayong accessible yung pagbabike sa mamamayan. Di ba? Sa paanong paraan. Kasi sa kasalukuyan, nabanggit naman ng mga previous speaker na napakamahal talaga ng bike. Ako nga, actually, personally, wala akong sariling bike. Pinapahiram lang ako ng mga kaibigan. Paano pa yung iba na walang kaibigang magpapahiram? Yung mga maralitan ng sahod, 200 pesos a day lang. Hindi nila kaya talagang bumili ng bike. So ngayon, parang kailangan ma-appreciate ng government, ng gobyerno, yung benefits na makuha natin sa sustainable urban mobility para sila mismo yung maglalapit ng pagbabike sa mga mamamayan, sa mga mahihirap, sa elderly, LGBT, doon magiging diverse talaga yung bike scene. Hindi na lang siya magiging exclusive para sa mga kalalakihan, sa mga middle class, yung mga may pera. Di ba maganda yung initiative na binanggit kanina sa Pasig na may bike loan. Di isang malaking pag-unlad o hakbang yon para ma-afford, ma-access ng mga mahihirap yung bisikleta. Pero syempre, hindi lahat ng city may ganon. So more projects na katulad pa nun. And then, kailangan din natin suportahan yung mga local businesses na nag-o-offer ng affordable na bisikleta, di ba? May mga local businesses dito sa bansa, yung Padayon Bike, sa mga alam ko. So pwede tayo doon sa kanila bumili. O yung pagre-recycle din ng bisikleta, di ba? Pwede yun yung isang pamamaraan. Kasi may mga biker akong nakikilala sa daan na ang dami nilang bike. Isa lang naman sila. Di ba? Tapos sino gagamit ng iba mong bike na parang every bike mo, ibang bike ang gagamit. Parang papogi ang dating. So instead na mas maraming taong nakaka-enjoy ng pagbibisikleta, nakikinabang, ikaw, ang dami mong bike na walang gumagamit. Hindi, i-share mo yan sa iba. Yung luma mo, ibigay mo, i-recycle, ang tawag doon, pagandahin para magamit ng ibang tao. Mga ganon. Tapos may mga mga organizations na nagpo-provide nabibigay ng libre 'di ba? Nagdo-donation drive, nagbibigay sila sa mga tao hindi kaya bumili, yung mga indigenous people, mga workers, at iba pa. So suportahan natin yung mga ganong inisyatiba. Kasi kung maghihintay lang tayo sa government, hindi lalaylay na lang yung dila nating lahat, wala tayong makukuhang bike. So pagtulong-tulungan din natin. Parang isa yun sa pamamaraan. Then lastly, paano naman natin gagawing mas inclusive yung mga kalsada para sa mga Pilipino na walang sariling sasakyan. Di katulad ng binanggit ko ng una, parang kailangan ng lagi sa people-centered yung mga road plans. Diba? Ibig sabihin, para sa tao, convenient sa mga pedestrians. Halimbawa, dito sa Quezon City, may mga LRT, MRT, mga railways na tinatayo. Tapos, nakakatawa, may masasagasaang footbridge. Yung footbridge yung mag-a-adjust. Like sa Litex, dito sa Quezon City, nawala yung footbridge doon kasi masasagasaan siya ng railway. Tapos meron basta marami ako nadadaan ng footbridge na biglang tumataas, biglang nagiging bound footbridge na siya, Mount Kamuning. Yung footbridge yung nag-a-adjust. So makikita mo dito na parang kanino sila pumapabor, yung gobyerno, sa mga negosyante. Diba? Doon sila pumapabor. Tapos tayo, edi mas malayo ang lalakarin natin, mas mataas ang aakyatin natin para lang makatawid sa kabilang kalsada. Diba? Meron nga mga diba, tawag dito. Bawal mag-U-turn sa mga malalaking kalsada or ang hirap mag-U-turn. Pero para makarating ka sa kabilang side, napakataas ang akyatin mo. Kaya ako, dead ma. Hindi mamatay ako dyan sa kalsada basta maka-U-turn ako. Parang dumadaan talaga ako sa Commonwealth, yung mga malalaking kalsada para mag-U-turn. Siyempre, nag-iingat naman. Tapos, dagdag pa dyan, pagpapaunlad pa doon sa public transport system. So, pag sinabi natin transport system, dapat social service, hindi siya negosyo. Diba? Sa paano paraan natin mapapaunlad yung public transport system natin? Itigil yung privatization ng mga public transport system like LRT, MRT, diba? Kaya nagsisisikan yung mga tao sa jeep dahil yung LRT, MRT na mas mabilis sana, mahal ang pamasahe. Negosyante ang nagmamay-ari imbis na serbisyong panlipunan siya. Ako dati, nung college ako, naabot ako 14 pesos lang or 30 ng pamasahe sa LRT from Santolan to Puresa. Now, 25 pesos, aabot ng 30 pesos na yung pamasahe. Naging doble dahil nakuha siya ng private sector. So, dapat prioritize ng gobyerno na mag-provide ng public transport system na maunlad sa ating bansa. And then, at the same time, pagbibigay ng suporta at tulong sa mga public utility vehicles. Hindi yung modernization, hindi yung pag-phase out. Diba? Kasi, ito yung common na ginagamit ng mga pedestrian, ng maralitang Pilipinong walang sasakyan, jeep, o ano pang sasakyan. Pero if i-phase out, o plano pa nilang i-phase out, so kailangan magbigay ng suporta sa mga PUVs. And yung pag-stop sa oil price hike, ito, very lang na issue, sunod-sunod, like 9 or 10 times na atang nagtaas yung presyo ng langis, mga produktong petrolyo. So, kailangan maging responsable yung gobyerno na aksyonan itong mga ganitong suliranin. Diba? Magkaroon ng rollback, magkaroon ng price freeze. Kaya naman gawin ng gobyerno yun kung hindi lang parang business-centered or mga masyadong mas kinukonsider yung mga negosyante, yung mga businessmen, malulugi daw. Pero kano naman tayong mahihirap na magsasuffer sa mataas na presyo ng mga bilihin at pamasahe. Yan. So kaya ako, naniniwala ako na inclusivity, diversity, lagi siyang kaagibat ng economic na kakayanan ng mamamayan. Lalo na sa Pilipinas na majority ay mahihirap. So kailangan i-resolve yung inclusivity nga na binabanggit ko para sa lahat, people-centered. Doon natin ma-achieve yung tawag dito, maging mas inclusive at maging mas diverse yung pagbibisikleta sa ating bansa.
Salamat, Joho. Grabe, yung notes ko, kaliwat kanan, ang dami-dami mong sinabi na napaka-importante. Pero totoo yung sinabi ni Joho, our greatest resource are the people. So, lahat ng programa, plano, siguro dapat talaga nakasentro sa tao, not just for the business itself. Kasi ang mga tao na nagbibisikleta, nagko-commute, yan din ang tumutulong para i-push ang ating community. And yet, we don't give them proper, ang tawag mo dito, attention. Yung mga nagtatrabaho sa mga restaurants, we don't give them proper bicycle facilities para sa kanilang trabaho. Nakatambak lang yung kanilang mga bisikleta sa likod ng kanilang building or ng mga restaurant. So, alam mo yon, parang dapat talaga baguhin natin yung tingin natin sa mga siklista, sa mga pedestrian. Jawo, I can relate to you on the victim blaming part. Even with the women, for sure alam mo na rin yan that we also get victim blamed. And gaya ng sinabi mo, I also promote that you just wear what is comfortable for you. Unfortunately, sa cycling community kasi minsan nakakahon madalas na dapat ito lang yung suot mo, alright? And I know some of the clothes are very expensive, or it's not really, kumbaga kahit ako, I'm not really a jersey type of person kasi I feel parang masikip or tight or naiinitan ako. Gusto ko yung mga loose, ganyan. But then people are still saying I love to bike on a skirt, but still people are telling me na parang ba't ka nakabike? Ba't ka naka-skirt na nakabike? Ano bang ginagawa mo? Alam mo yon. So binabasag natin yung stereotypes na gano'n na ang attire sa pagbibisikleta ay hindi lang ganito. We can wear whatever we want, basta komportable kami. I like what you said na ang bisikleta ay simbolo ng pagtitiyaga at pagiging masipag. It is kaya nga isa sa mga kung mga categories ng mobility awards, yung ipakilala yung siklista ng bayan, kumbaga. Jawo, on the top of your mind, may kilala ka bang mga siklista na parang gusto mong i-nominate para makilala sila? May mga kaibigan ka ba? Yes, okay.
Mas po yung binabanggit yung mga pedicab drivers na dito sa Quezon City na mayroon sa kanila kababaihan mismo na pedicab driver na magandang makilala, mabigyan ng atensyon yung kanilang nararanasan. Siya isa doon si Nanay Lydia, nakakilala ko dito sa Quezon City. Isa siya, yung nasa picture kanina, siya yun, yung kinuhanan ng bisikleta, ng sidecar, na hanggang ngayon hindi pa niya ibabalik sa kanya.
Ayun. Mabuhay ka, Nanay Lydia. I hope na sana masauli na yung bikes mo. Ito yung sinabi rin ni Jawo kanina. Ako rin, Jawo, pareho tayo. Hindi ko rin maintindihan yung ibang tao na bakit napakadami nilang bike. Pero isang tao lang sila. But I know friends naman na marami silang bike, pero pinapahiram nila sa iba. Nagkaroon ng Lend the Bike project last year and Life Cycles PH, si Keisha yun, nagpapahiram ng mga bisikleta para sa mga frontliners natin. So I think it was a successful campaign last year. Maraming napahiram ng bisikleta, maraming nakagamit ng bisikleta. Pero yun nga, may issue pa rin tayo sa infra at yung mga nararanasan sa daan. Pero Jowo, maraming salamat sa lahat ng shinare mo sa atin today. And I hope na naliwanagan yung mga nakikinig sa atin. So Jowo, stay ka lang dyan kasi I'm going to call now the rest of our panelists. May I now call our panelists kasi open forum na po tayo. Patawarin niyo po kami kasi nag-extend kami, but this is a very, very, very important topic kasi. Kita nyo naman marami kaming subsectors dito na kulang talaga ang 1.5 oras. So to our panelists, I hope you're there na. Can you please open your cameras? Malapit na po tayo matapos. Sa mga nag-submit po ng tanong nila, maraming salamat po. Please type in your questions po sa comment section kung may mga pahabol po sila kasi ipapasa po sa akin yan ng mga organizers. Feel free to weigh in on the discussion as well and let us know your thoughts. Ano sa tingin nyo? Malaking tulong ba ito or naliwanagan ba kayo? Please let us know. For the speakers po, ayan, sige, para makita po tayo lahat ng live viewers natin. Okay, eto na. Feel free po to answer tapos later I can also give you one question tapos you can answer po. Meron po nagtanong, paano po natin i-break yung stigma kapag baguhan ka or umiiwas ka sa ahon ng ruta ng bike? Sinasabi kasi madalas na parang baguhan ka, newbie ka, mahina ka. Meron din kasing stereotyping on, katulad nung sinabi natin kanina, on the brand of bikes na parang pag may certain brand of bike ka, you're a legit biker, mga ganun. So, ano sa tingin niyo yung paraan kung paano natin mabibreak yung stereotyping na ganun para naman maging ano siya, maging cyclist for all ang dating ng ating advocacy. So anyone can answer po? Sino pong gustong, you may raise your hand or Doktora, would you like to start? Sige po, unmute niyo po.
One
Thank
is
you.
I think, Jer, it's very important that parang education talaga yan. You know, we have to keep campaigning, like, you know, webinars like this are very helpful, and just, you know, be more vocal to let our presence be felt by the society, and for more tolerance, basically, for all sorts of bikers, including newbies, including, alam mo, ang nakikita ko na discriminate are people who are overweight and they're on a bike. Parang I can hear a lot while biking, you know, I can hear comments like people say, ano ba yan? Bakit nagbabike pa yan? You know, things like that. So basically, it's not just about gender that's being discriminated. There are other forms of stereotypes, basically newbies, people who don't look like they are really bikers. So yun ang or people who are not wearing the usual, I wouldn't say the right, but the usual attire, like what Jawo said, right? So education is one, and then I think again infrastructure. If we have like parks like in Japan or in other countries where newbies can actually practice to bike, learn bike handling, where it's safer without the cars, up until, you know, they feel comfortable on the road on their bikes before they actually go sabak into the jungle, right, with all the traffic. So kung meron tayong ganyan, then, you know, everybody who's on the road will end up to be a little bit more experienced.
Thank you so much, Doktora. Napaka-importante po niyan ng sinabi nyo. Talagang, ayun nga, we need to get more people on the road, but we need to have a proper infra para rin makapag-practice din sila, diba? Any other, ano po, na gustong sumagot doon sa ating question?
Jer, I wonder if it's
opo,
ever possible, like, you know, you go to New York, you'll have, or even Japan, you'll have bikes for rent. In every corner of, let's say, Manhattan, will have bikes in every corner. So you can just swipe your credit card or kahit, you know, make it cheap. Like pwedeng barya-barya lang, and then you can just park it after an hour or may time limit, diba? Kung merong ganyan, then we will encourage mobility because you don't need to own a bike to be able to.
Doktora, actually meron siya sa BGC, pero pang Bonifacio Global City lang po talaga sa Taguig. And ayun nga po, medyo hindi pa rin po siya ganun ka-inclusive kasi kailangan mo ng cellphone, kailangan mo ng app. So syempre hindi naman lahat ganun din kabihasa. So 'di ba? So ayun po, yun po yung isa sa mga concern doon. At saka pang BGC lang siya in a way. So ayun. And another question po na I would like to give to all kung sino man po. How can the government po sa both at the national and the local level ensure inclusive mobility systems across the country? Paano po natin may ensure yun? And yung last po, siguro pagkatapos yung matanong yun, tatawagin ko po kayo isa-isa. Ano po yung message nyo doon sa mga tumatakbo for the election next year in terms of making mobility systems more inclusive? So may I start po? Doktora, would you like to start with that? How do we ensure inclusive mobility system across the country, and what would be your message to those who are running for next year's election in terms of making mobility systems more inclusive? Sige po.
Alam mo, Jer, that will really require political will. Kasi kahit anong gagawin mo, meron kang masasagasaan or merong isang aspect of society that will not agree dahil sila maaabala. But it has to really take a strong leaders, not just one, and like I said, a revolution in the minds of the Filipino people. It cannot be just our leaders. It has to be us, the constituents, who will want it and who will work for it also. So it will need a big change. Hindi lang siya, it's not about bike lane alone. As I mentioned, kahit may bike lane ka pero hindi naman nire-respeto ng mga ibang commuters, it's going to be unsafe. So you have to really make it a holistic, not really holistic, but rather a multi-sectoral type of change. So it will have to involve other transportation systems. Pedestrians will have to agree to respecting bike lanes, to walking to a bus stop, for example, rather than being fetched canto per canto or 100 meters away by the jeepneys. So it's really something that will require a lot of resolve. Dapat gugustuhin siya ng mga tao, gugustuhin siya ng mga politiko, and there should be political will to implement this.
Thank you. How about po sa mga tumatakbo for next year's election, Doktora?
Ayan, sana, well, I hope, like what Jawo said, I hope you will look at the sentiments also of the underprivileged, yung mga marginalized. Huwag nyo lang isipin yung mga popular sentiments. Dapat kahit hindi yan malaking boto, pero tao din yan, importanteng part of society din yan. Bigyan nyo rin ng halaga. And political will, as I mentioned, I hope that the new people we elect into government will have a strong sense of public service, na talagang gugustuhin nilang umunlad ang buong sambayanan, hindi lang a certain part of society. It has to be for the good of all as much as possible.
Maraming salamat po, Doktora. Political will and multi-sectoral change, kailangan na kailangan po yun. And people-centered approach. To Jawo, siguro, I can give you that question again. Sa tingin mo, paano pa natin may ensure na magiging inclusive ang ating mobility system sa buong bansa? And anong mensahe mo dun sa mga tatakbo sa election next year?
For me, kailangan to ensure yung inclusivity ay voice of the masses or participation of the people sa policy making. Kasi right now, ang nangyayari, bubuo ng batas, ng mga polisiya, na hindi naman nagpa-participate yung mga taong bayan doon. So, hindi naririnig yung boses nila, ano ba talaga yung demands, ano yung needs ng mga tao, ng pedestrians, diba? So, actually, recently, may isang bill na Pinay sa Congress, led by the Makabayan Bloc, sa Bike Act ata. Nakalimutan yung title niya, pero it's about biking. So nagkaroon sila ng consultation with some bike groups, mga individual bikeries. So dapat ganito yung practice ng buong gobyerno on national and local level, na magkonsulta sa taong bayan. Kasi hindi naman sila nagbibisikleta. I mean, most ng nasa government. So wala silang alam kung anong experience natin as bikers. Then sa mga tatakbo, number one, dapat pro-people. Hindi ka pro-business, o kung anumang sector ng lipunan na maliit na bahagi ng lipunan na makikinabang. Dapat yung mas maraming mamamayan ang makinabang sa iyong mga proyekto, programa. Lagi yung tao ang priority mo. So sa ganyang paraan, mas magiging hindi lang biking ang magiging inclusive. Yung buong lipunan natin magiging inclusive kung ganito yung mamamahala sa ating gobyerno.
Salamat, Jawo. Tama ka. Participation of the people at nung mga tao talaga mismo na gumagamit. Kasi kadalasan naman gumagawa ng mga bicycle lanes, yung mga gumawa ng plano na yun, hindi naman pala talaga nagbibisikleta. And sana, kung meron man ginawa silang infra, sana man lang, tanungin din nila yung mga gumagamit, kumusta ba? Magkaroon ng monitoring and evaluation para makita kung effective ba yung ginagawa or ano pa yung kailangan i-improve. Maraming salamat, Jawo. Eloy, may I ask you that question also?
I agree to Miss Marivic and Jawo when it comes to yung sa inclusivity, kailangan pakinggan nila kung ano yung hinaing ba ng masa, kumbaga. Kasi yun yung mga taong gumagamit kadalasan ng kalsada, yun yung mga taong nasa kalsada na experience first hand yung mga bagay, yung pagbibisikleta. And to add lang din, kasi I agree na to Ms. Marivic and yung what Jawo said, dapat yung sa mga susunod na politiko, at least ma-experience, hindi at least sana ma-experience nila mag-commute sa daan, magbisikleta, para malaman nila first hand, ano ba talagang problema. Kasi like, yung sa sinabi mo, gagawa sila ng batas, pero hindi naman nila, gagawa lang sila ng batas, pero yun na yun, hindi na si strict na na-implement because hindi nila nakikita ano pa bang kulang doon sa ginawa nila. And hindi nila nararanasan kumbaga first hand na ito pala yung mga naka-catcall or kaya may mga sa kalsadang may mga sira-sirang daan. Kala nila parang bigyan mo lang ng bike lane. Ito perfect example. Kala nila bigyan mo lang ng bike lane isang city or lagyan mo ng pintura, okay na. Which is may ganon, may one dito sa amin, may pintura. Ipinturahan niya, tapos after a week, ano na nung pintura ng parang nag-fade na agad yung pintura. Yun. Like Miss Marivic said, political will and empathy towards the people. Yun.
Thank you, Iloy. Alam mo yung sinasabi mo na exposure, nako, lagi ko nga sinasabi sa mga politicians natin, mag-undercover kaya kayo. Tapos kunyari, sasakay ka sa bus or magko-commute ka, maglalakad ka sa sidewalk, magbabike ka sa bike lane para makita nyo talaga. Kasi iba rin yung, minsan pag nagbabike sila, tapos marami silang escort. Iba rin kasi
Huwag
yun
lang yung kapogi ba?
Yes,
diba?
correct. So sana naman, you know, feel the sentiments of the people. Go ahead and bike, walk where you are leading. Tingnan nyo, para makita nyo talaga yung pinagdadaanan ng mga constituents nyo. And talk to them, ask them, ano ba yung mga pwede pang ma-improve para sa buhay nila, 'di ba? Thank you, Iloy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And additional lang din pala kasi nga since I have this platform, panawagan ko lang din sa mga, especially ngayon na mga content creators sa mga cycling community.
Yes.
Lumalaki na yung community. So sana mas maging responsible pa tayo when it comes to releasing our contents kasi hindi mo alam kung saan nararating yung content mo eh. So yun. At in this webinar, we would like to thank everyone in this na parang nagbukas din ng isipan ko when it comes to ano pa bang dapat pag-usapan, kumbaga. Kasi nowadays social media is eto na yung parang TV. So thank you.
Totoo yan. Sa mga napakadaming subscriber, mga content creators, gamitin nyo sana yung platform nyo para, maisa boses yung mga dapat asikasuhin para sa mga commuters or para sa ikabubuti ng lahat. So, thank you, Iloy. May I ask, next would be si Cresta. Cresta, sa tingin mo, paano natin ma-ensure ang inclusive mobility system para sa buong bansa, lalo-lalo na para sa sector mo, Cresta? And anong mensahe mo para sa ating mga tatakbo next year for the election?
For the first question about the mobility for the deaf, importante nga po na mga hearing tsaka deaf, inclusive pala. Since ang mga deaf may gap sa communication, dapat naiintindihan ng mga hearing people at dapat hindi sila i-discriminate, na dapat hindi titingnan na maliit at nagagawa nila, na dapat iniisip na may capacity ang tao na ito mag-improve, na they belong to the society. Yeah. ang mga hearing and deaf, parehas naman nila may enjoy yung parehas na serbisyo sa government at saka yung magandang environment, whatever. Yeah. Race to have sana lahat para sana lahat magkaroon ng interaction, ng magandang interaction sa society. Ay, masasabi ko lang sa bike lane, mas maganda kung mapapalo to. Mga deaf naman, kaya naman nilang mag-abide sa rule, sa law. Tsaka yung mga LGBT, I guess, ganun din. At sana walang prejudgment about what people want to wear, what they want to wear. Sana magkaroon ng freedom kung ano gusto nila express sa sarili nila. For the people who will run for the presidency, message ko lang, for the government na sana matulungan ang mga person with disability, sana especially magtulungan yung dalawang pinakamataas na official, yung president and vice president, na magkaroon tayo dito ng parang freedom as a biker. Yeah. I hope na maipasa yan. That's all. Thank you.
Salamat, Cresta. Ayan, sana daw talaga, and I agree with Cresta, ang ating presidente at vice president at lahat ng leaders magsama-sama para po magkaroon ng freedom ang lahat magbisikleta, kasi napaka-importante po nun. At gaya ng sinabi ni Cresta, sana po matanggal ang discrimination na at lahat, the keyword is lahat ay makapagbisikleta na kahit saan man nila gusto pumunta. Okay? Last but not the least, Tita Yet, ano po ang mensahe nyo? Ano po yung, paano pa po i-improve ng government ang inclusive mobility systems across the country? And ano pong mensahe nyo para dun sa mga tatakbo next year?
Siguro para sa akin yung general awareness. Mas madaming
Hello?
Yes.
Ayan na, Tita Yet. Okay.
General awareness sa public kung ano yung mga benefits ng biking, not just for the women, sa mga elderly, sa mga PWD, sa lahat ng sektor ng ating lipunan, na gamitin yung mga social media platforms, at saka yung television, lahat ng pwedeng magkaroon ng information, mga billboards, yung benefits ng biking. Kasi ito talaga yung para sa akin kasi, yung mga benefits niya sa environment, sa health, sa economy. Siyempre mas matipid siya, di ba? Kaysa mas mabilis, mas matipid. Ang dami niyang benefits na hindi masyadong nabigyan ng pansin noon, kahit ng mga bata pa tayo, na pwede pala. So yung ibang bansa, ginawa na nila, pwede nating gawin. Sana yung gobyerno, kung ano yung mga naiisip natin kung ano yung mga pinag-usapan natin dito, maisip din nila, mai-suggest natin sa kanila, para maganda kasi mangyayari sa atin kung magkaganon, di ba? So, yung 88% na walang sasakyan, pwede mag-bike. Not just walk, pwede mag-bike, not just commute, pwede mag-bike. Tapos based doon, bigyan na ng secured yung magandang lane ang mga bikers sa Pilipinas. Not just sa EDSA. Sana yung mga small towns, small cities sa Pilipinas,
Yes.
magkaroon na at saka tuloy-tuloy na. Tuloy-tuloy na yung dugtong-dugtong na, 'di ba? Slowly na nakukuha na natin ito with the help of katulad nitong mga endeavor ng inyo, itong mobility na ito. So, sana mabigyan ng pansin ng gobyerno. Dun sa mga dun sa mga iboboto natin, siguro if we will have a chance to talk to them, ask them kung ano yung kanilang maiaambag naman tungkol sa mobility ng all sectors. Yung inclusivity ng mga PWD, ng LGBT, lahat ng mga elderly, lahat mabigyan din ng pansin. Tapos yun yung iboto natin. Yun yung iboto natin. Kasi sa kanila nagsisimula yung mga budget, di ba? Sa kanila. Tapos sa barangay din natin, pwede tayong, yung mga iboboto din natin, kailangan ganun din, ano ba yung mga nila, agenda nila with regards to mobility, to mga cycling, di ba? Yun lang po.
Tama, Tita Yet. Dapat talaga tingnan natin yung mga agenda nila. Ano ang mga plano nyo para sa mga vulnerable groups? So sana masagot nila ng maayos yun or sana kasama yun sa plataforma nila. Alam nyo po, nagpapasalamat talaga ako. Dr. Marivic, maraming salamat po. Iloy, thank you so much. Jawo, Cresta, si Bea kanina, tsaka si Shar, maraming salamat. Tita Yet, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Even sa ating interpreters kanina, JM, maraming salamat. Sa mga nakikinig, maraming salamat po. Sa mga tao sa likod namin, nakasama namin dito sa Zoom room, maraming salamat sa pagtsatsaga nyo. Alam ko, masyadong napahaba ang ating usapan, pero talagang napaka-importante ito. And I'm very happy kasi this will be the last webinar bago magsara ang nominations tomorrow. So I hope sana napakalaking tulong ito para sa atin, lalong-lalo na para next year, na mamulat yung mga mata at isipan natin tungkol sa usapin ng inclusivity. So,
yes, thank you, Miss
thank you so much. We learned a lot. Congratulations sa atin po lahat. Earlier, tinanong namin, how can we make our urban mobility systems more responsive to the needs of children, women, persons with disability, and elderly? Ito po yung mga napili namin pangalan. Congratulations po sa inyo. Ipa-flash ba natin? Josel Marie Fajardo, CJ Dagyo, Homer Forte, Miss Karen Silva Crisostomo, and Viv Imperial. Congratulations po sa inyo. Please, i-message nyo po ang Mobility Awards Facebook page para po maklaim nyo yung inyong premyo. So, nagpapasalamat po uli ako sa lahat ng organizers, and I would like to encourage everyone, please, bike-friendly cities, workplaces, establishment, visit mobilityawards.ph or bit.ly/MA nomination now. We will be accepting nominations until tomorrow na lang po. And also yung sinabi ni Jawo kanina, please send us photos and stories of your local cyclist entrepreneurs via bit.ly/MA Cyclista. Tatanggapin po namin ang nomination hanggang November 7 po. So on behalf of the Insitute for Climate and Sustainable Cities, the Climate Reality Project Philippines, MNL Moves, 350.org Pilipinas, my beloved Pinay Bike Commuter community, the League of Cities Philippines, and the Mobility Awards 27 regional partners. Maraming salamat po for this fruitful discussion, and maayong hapon sa tanan. God bless. Bye.
Photoshoot.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Photoshoot, stay daw po.
Ay, okay.
Stay daw po after. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Ayan, are we still live? Hindi na. Tama ba? Ayan, si Corina bumalik.
Wala atang audio kanina.
Oo nga.
Wala ba yung audio yung last? Sayang.
Wala. Okay lang.
Okay lang.
Ayan, sige. Pa-picture tayo.
Okay po.
Uy, salamat. Corina, salamat. Buti nakabalik. Thank you, thank you. Thank you uli, Doktora. Tita Yet, Jo. Cresta, Iloy. Salamat talaga. Salamat talaga.
Picture.
Sige, picture. Sinong kukuha? Ira, pakita ka. Tsaka Celine. Taka lang.
Picturean ko din sa phone.
Sige.
Ang
Kuya
galing
JM, salamat ah.
Ang galing ng interpreter.
Thank you, Cresta. Thank you, Celine, Ira, and Miss Golds, and Firth. Sige, game.
Sir JM, pwede po makuha yung ano nyo? Email? Or... Ay, teka.
Yun na po kay Cresta.
Okay po. Thank you. Thank you po everyone. Thank you so much.
Ayan, ayun na si Firth, nagbalik na. Okay. Sino kukuha? Si Firth?
Wait lang, mabagal po connection ko.
Okay.
Baka pwedeng sila, Celine, or...
Sige, or si Ira. Sige, ready? Kahit ako na lang. Ayan. This means I love you, diba? Tama ba?
Yes.
Ayan, ako na lang. Ako na lang kukuha. Alright. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Isa pa po. Wait, one more. Pasa ko na lang sa inyo, Celine. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Ayan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.